Hola.
Bonjour.
Ni hao.
Hello.
Privyet.
G'day.
Buongiorno.
Moi.
Godag.
Hey.
Vitai.
Hi.
Konnichiwa.
He.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Yeah, it's Hebrew for hello.
Okay. Anyway, hope you
No,
like to say hello
keep going.
No, I'm done now. I'm
everyone
done.
here. Guten Tag, Salam Alaikum, whatever way you want to say it. Hello, welcome to the Double Trouble podcast with me, Oliver Phelps.
And me, James Phelps. And I think, Oliver, you've written all those down. So well done.
I've got to be honest, I did cheat, but I wanted to be a bit more inclusive of everyone today. Because, guys, today we are celebrating our 12th and last podcast of this season. It has been just an absolutely wicked journey with you guys over the last couple of months. Getting these out to you have been very fun. And I've got to be honest with you, initially, we were only planning to do between 6 and 8. So to make it to 12, we're very happy with that.
We are very much so. And it's all because you guys have reacted so well to these on all mediums, whether it be YouTube, whether it be any way you get your podcast. So thank you so much for everybody for clicking the download button. Thank you for telling your friends about them. We've really had a great time seeing all the responses and also getting to chat to some of our good friends about things which we never would speak to them normally about. So we hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
Exactly. So with that in mind, I need to stress as well that we will be back for a new season later in the year, which we're very happy to announce. We've been speaking to some very good people, and we're going to be coming back to you with a much crisper sounding, better editing, all round better podcast. The only thing will be the exact same, the enthusiasm that we're going to be having. We're not changing the format. We're not changing a lot about it. It's just going to be looking a lot smarter and crisper.
Yeah, we're very lucky that we'll explain more in the new season, but it's actually something which we've been talking with a couple of guys for a couple of weeks, about a month or so now. And what's really great is that they've got the same vision for it as we do. They've got the same enthusiasm as we do. So they don't want to change anything. They just want to make it smarter and a bit sharper. So we're very excited. As I say, that's coming in the new year. That's the new season, which will be coming in a few months' time. But for now, we're going to look back at people we've spoken to during this lockdown period. And we had some really great guests so far.
We did, yes, because the whole point of today's show is maybe you haven't listened to all of our podcasts, maybe you haven't watched them, and this is more just I wouldn't say the best bits, but a selection of different stories from all of our different guests who we spoke to. I've had great fun going through, picking out some different stories from different people. So as James said, we might as well start with our first ever guest on the show, someone who actually gave us the idea to start doing this again. Yes, Joe, we stole your idea.
Completely stole Joe's idea, but again, Joe has got a really great podcast, actually, the Johanna Konta podcast. So definitely recommend checking that out, by the way. Again, available wherever you get your podcast. But Joe, the British #1 tennis player, she had a great chat with us.
She did. So here she is, Miss Johanna Konta.
Not necessarily that moment, but what would be the funniest moment that you've had on court? Like, it may have been that you've noticed something and it's given you the giggles, or something's projected. Because I remember when we went to see you at the US Open, there were a couple of things which got us giggling. I remember there was someone cheering for your opponent. Do you remember? And they kept...
He wouldn't shut
I remember,
up.
no one knew what language they were shouting in, but it was like the last thing you'd hear before play started.
Yeah.
And also my pal and myself, we noticed, it's one of the things, once you read, you see something once, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Going back to line judges, we saw this one person who would kind of bend at the hips perfectly and then squat. It was like a robot going into their routine. And that's all I could see before every... So you had someone shouting in some language and then this umpire going into this robotic dance.
Yeah. You know what's interesting though, when I'm playing, obviously a massive part of it is for me to stay in kind of my space and being able to obviously have a rough awareness of what's going on, but I'm very much there. However, on that occasion, what you say, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it was a Russian guy, and he'd go, Davai Kasakina, Russian tiger.
Russian queen.
Yeah. Russian queen. I remember that specifically because on the same court, 4 years earlier. I remember it so clearly. I was playing against Garbiñe Muguruza, and I had this American, a real New Yorker, I think. I'm pretty sure it was a New Yorker accent, but it proper, before every single point, well, every single break point, he'd say, "Come on, Joanna, it's break time." Every single, and so that has stayed with me, because that's, I hear it. So it's not like I block everything out and I can't hear anything. So I hear all this, but every so often it does make me chuckle in the match as well. And then now I'm still talking about 5 years later almost. So obviously it stayed with me. But yeah, it's more those sorts of things that kind of come in here. Russian Queen. I
mean, the one thing I noticed coming over last year to watch you at the US Open is the difference in the crowd. I suppose because America in general are just into all sport competition of any level. They're behind it, aren't they?
Yeah.
But even just like the mannerisms of the crowd. So, for argument's sake, like in England, when the ball hits the net and it's a moment, will it go over? Won't it? For some reason, everyone gasps. Whereas in the States, everyone just stays quiet. The drama is the ball going to hit the net or not? It just little differences like that. Do you find all around the world have got different ticks?
Oh, 100%. So you can just really see the differences. Obviously, I mean, we travel everywhere, but with the slams specifically, I think Australian Open and the US Open have got quite a bit of similarities, because like you said, Americans are really into their sport. Australians are very into their sport as well. And the weather is similar. Like they're kind of on par. I guess the only difference is, for example, the US Open is a lot more showbiz, entertainment. It's just everything's happening at the same time. I mean, planes are going, trains are going, music's playing, people talking, and then we're just there playing, kind of as a sideshow. So that's like very full on. Australia is very much just into the sport. It's like tennis. Everyone's coming with their face paint. Everyone's like Aussie, 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 or it's like really intense sport. And then I guess in kind of with Wimbledon, the French, they're kind of similar. I think the French Open crowd is actually probably one of the toughest. I've never heard booing.
Don't they? Yeah.
I've never heard booing in a tennis setting until the French Open, and I don't understand it. I don't know why. And I guess it's if I were to talk to a footballer, they'd be like, "What are you talking about? I mean, booing. We always get booed at different stages." So, but as a tennis player, I feel like, "Oh no, did I do something wrong? I'm so sorry." So it's definitely not something that is common practice for us. So that's definitely very interesting. Whereas obviously at Wimbledon, no chance of booing. I mean, 100% no chance. But I think also Wimbledon is the air of Wimbledon, and it's so grand and so proper and so pristine. The grass, everything about it, it lends itself to then how people are. And I guess both French and Wimbledon, I think people dress up a bit more for it. Everyone's a bit more presentable. They're there to, I guess, enjoy what is there, not kind of fully immerse themselves like in the other two. So so they definitely differ. But I mean, it's so good. It's actually, we're so lucky in tennis to be able to travel the whole world and experience the same sport with different people and different attitudes towards the sport. I think we're very, very lucky with that.
But when you're done after a day's play, I know when we saw you in New York, we got to go out for a meal with you guys and everything.
Yeah.
Is that a rarity, or do you get to hang out in the evening to see the cities that you're in?
I think definitely as I've gotten older, I've made more of an effort to do that. I think when I was younger, I was a lot more closed off, and I was a lot more, right, I need to be doing this. I need to eat the same thing, or I was a lot more rigid and a lot more, I guess, superstitious in that, or just set in routine. As I've gotten older, I definitely feel like I've kind of branched out and let myself enjoy what I do more, and really experience it more. practice being grateful for it, because there's a lot I can be grateful for with what I do. And so through that, and the fact that I absolutely love food, I visit a lot of different restaurants, and I kind of explore the cities more then. And I think actually through that practice, I've looked forward more to the travel part of what I do, because for me, traveling hasn't been, and I don't think ever will be, my favorite part of what I do. For me, it's competing. That's what I love. And travel has been more of the tricky side. But I think because I've started to open myself up to enjoying the places, discovering the places a bit more that I go to, I actually have this sense of not going home, but I feel like, oh, I know where I'm going. I know the restaurants I like. I know, and then I usually try to add a few more on each time I go back. So I think that's kind of helped with the whole travel aspect for me as well.
Mm-hmm. No, it definitely makes it better. I think, as you say, if you go somewhere what you're familiar with, it can, as well, because otherwise, if you were to stay in a bubble of such competitiveness or focus for 4 or 5 days, however long you're there for. I mean, how long normally do you get there before a tournament?
Well, it depends on where you go. Obviously, when we go to Australia, we have to get there a bit earlier than anywhere else, really, just because of how far it is and the adjustment period from jet lag, but also the conditions. I usually come from Europe, where it's cold, to Australia, where it's baking hot. So that's about a good 5 to 7 days of kind of getting there pre-tournament. Everywhere else, I think it's anywhere between 1 day to, if it's in Europe, to maybe four days prior, if we're going kind of to the west coast of the US or even just the US in general.
But I mean, in terms of times like when you get to go somewhere with a tournament and you can tie the stuff up to it. So I remember when you were in Miami a couple of years ago and you sent me a message saying any chance at Universal.
Best day of my life. No joke. Like, I'm not even ashamed to admit, probably the best day of my life.
That's not bad.
No, I know.
Because you're a big Potter fan, aren't you?
Oh, massive. Like, I mean, to this day, I'll watch the films kind of every year, kind of in the October region when it's starting to get cold, and it's just that really cozy vibe. Absolutely love it. Jackson and I, my boyfriend, we watch it literally every year. Even before he was around, I'd watch it every year. So it's not it's not tied to him. But yeah, no, I absolutely love the films. You know what? I'm one of those people that I'm roughly your age, but I'm definitely kind of roughly all the characters' ages. I'm like kind of that age group. So I grew up with it. I remember when the films came out, I was in Australia, and when the first film came out, I must have been 10 or 11, I think, roughly.
Yeah, but it would be about that, yeah.
Yeah, and so literally it kind of went through the whole period. And I remember when the last film came out, I was about, 19 or so? Mm-hmm. Something like that, 19, 20. So it was like literally my childhood. And so I keep reliving my childhood kind of every year or so around October. But yeah, no, I am one of those people that just wishes that it's real. Like, I wish Hogwarts is real. I don't care that I didn't get my letter. It's fine. I am happy to be a muggle, but please be real. Like, it's one of those people.
I don't know.
Not much to add to that, is there?
Not really. No. I was trying to work out how
you break it to me softly that it's not real. I know.
Well, I'll leave that to James.
There's a story about two people who tried to run through the platform at King's Cross.
Oh no.
And apparently they went straight into the wall. And so the story, I don't know how true this is, but I have heard it a few times. So the story goes, these people tried to sue the state King's Cross to say there was no sign there.
No.
This is what I've heard. And apparently the reply from the station was, well, you're not a wizard, so it wouldn't work. How true that is, I want to believe that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for you it's so different with the whole Harry Potter world, just because you guys literally lived it. So you see every nook and cranny, kind of everything that went into it. So I guess for you, it's the magic isn't there for like someone like me who just watched the final result and just can't see how it cannot be real. It's on TV. It's real, obviously.
And I think I can speak for everyone that Universal Orlando have done an absolutely amazing job of everything, the Wizarding World.
Very much. And also, let's not forget Universal Studios in Hollywood and Japan.
Yes.
We're not being paid to say that, but just letting you know there's others out there.
Yeah, so it's always nice to bring things around Potter-based. And speaking of Potter-based,
Oh,
I suppose,
good segue.
Was that a good segue? Was that good?
Very good.
I think we should try and get into somewhere, or the conversation that we had with a fellow Harry Potter actor, our good mate, Tom Felton. So,
boo. I'm only saying boo because he
boo him. Don't boo Tom.
Boo. I'm not booing Tom. I'm going to boo Malfoy because that's what normally happens when we're out with him. But Tom, as everyone knows, he's a really great person. We had a really good chat with him. Actually, when we spoke to him, he was just off to play golf in Arizona. He actually missed his tee time thanks to chatting a bit longer than he should have done. So apologies for that to Tom, but we will make up for it next time we see each other. But yeah, Tom was really great talking about all of his times, especially when we were on tour promoting the Potters. Actually, speaking of premieres and everything, I remembered quite a good thing that you were with us as well. Do you remember when we went to Paris and they put us up at the Ritz, and then they said, remember? And then they said, you have a morning off. What would you like to do? And we also would like to go to the Louvre. Oh, I'm afraid it's closed, but we'll do you a tour of the city. So okay, that's fine. So that Wednesday in the morning, we all got up and they ended up opening the Louvre for us. We were able to go underneath the barrier where the Mona Lisa was and all that kind of stuff. I think that was one of the most surreal experiences of my life.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, because now I think about it, us boys have experienced quite a few of these things together, in the sense of, because you know what it's like when you're there in these situations, you kind of have to pretend that it's normal. And you have to kind of go,
exactly,
like, sure. We'll just roll with the punches. Yeah, here I am in the Louvre going underneath the bar. But yeah, I don't know about you, but I come back and I speak, to my brothers or my friends, like, you'll never believe this.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of like the actual, with the filming side of it though, because I know that obviously with your social media and everything now, you still have a lot of relating content on it, if I call it that, to that Potter-related stuff. Is that a deliberate thing, or is that just something that you... like all of us, it's part of our everyday, I don't mean like our everyday existence, but it's part of our makeup as people.
Yeah, it is. I mean, usually the social media thing is such a separate entity, and something that I was really not comfortable with at first, but just seeing what we can do for various different causes, and even if it's the cause of boredom, that we can do this. There's so many good, there are so many good avenues of it. There are so many bad ones as well, but yeah, the Potter thing is more that, I don't know, there was always a thing, and I'm sure maybe you got this as well, towards the end of our experience, or even after it had finished. I never forget, there was one journalist at Comic-Con in San Diego who says, how does it feel? It's over, and, do you watch the films? And how are you going to shake the burden of being attached to this character? I said, the what? What do you mean a burden? Right? I was proud of it then. I'm proud of it now. It doesn't make me who I am or anything, but crikey, it's not something that I'm looking to shake away from anytime soon. And I know some of the other actors would rather not be continuously attached to a certain a franchise or character or whatever. But I mean, obviously, we're all doing different stuff, and we're all pushing our own pursuits, whether it's being crap at golf or trying to write some songs. But I'll never want to sort of detach myself from it. So when anyone sends me some funny meme or some sort of Potter-related thing, as you know, it goes down so well. I mean, look at you with interviewing your little sister. It's a thing that fans get so excited about. It's how could we not enjoy it?
Yeah, I agree with Tom. How could you not enjoy it?
He's a very smart kid, isn't he?
What a segue! Well, another great segue. Another great.
I think. Well, no, I think that what we have fun when we interview Tom. Again, we've known Tom since almost exactly 20 years ago.
Yeah,
we met at the read through, and then we spoke about there our first. I remember hanging out with him whilst we waited for a car to take us up to Newcastle to carry on shooting the exterior in the first movie. And to think, flash forward, we're now speaking on the other side, from other sides of the planet, still making good memories together. So again, thank you very much, Tom, for joining us.
Exactly. Which I'm trying to think of a way to segue into this. Well, I suppose
I know.
Go on.
Well, there's oceans between America and England right now, as I guess there has been for
right now, as
years.
opposed
But anyway, there's oceans in between, vast open water, if you will.
Yes. Keep going.
So our last podcast that we actually chatted to was open wild swimming champion, 2-time world champion, Carrie Ann Payne. And she told us a great story about how during at the start of a race,
Well, don't ruin it.
I'm not going to ruin it. I'm just going to lay.
I would just say that she gave us a big advice on adapting when things aren't going your way, and improvising and making things work. Because
I was going to say, she told us about how even when people are collaborating to bring you down,
yes,
you can always outsmart them, which is exactly what she did.
An interesting one. So because I'd started doing well in other races and I was silver medalist going into the World Championships, I was, certainly one of the favourites to win a medal anyway. There was a little bit of chatter amongst the teams that there was maybe some girls that were going to try and put a damper on my World Championship swim, and my tactic really at that time was to go out in front and to lead the swim, and because I was one of the fastest but I had the stamina, it worked really well. And what I did was I went harder than everybody liked to go, so I made people more tired because they wanted to keep up, so they tried to keep up, so they weren't actually swimming easy behind me. Even though I was leading, they were having to swim hard to keep up, and I knew that I had an extra gear usually at the end to give, and I thought I'm going to use this to my advantage. And I did, and it worked incredibly well for a long time. But I did sort of hear through other people and countries and stuff that there might be a few who didn't want to let me to do that. They weren't going to let me get out in front as I normally would do. And we thought, what do we do about this? Like, I don't really know where to go or how to deal with this scenario. So I wish I could remember exactly how we decided we were going to do it. But essentially, I got ready really early, and I normally wait till the last second to put my hat and goggles on because I know I'm going to be in it for 2 hours. But I put my stuff on really early, and I was really ready to go. And I had I had an orange hat on, and I had GBR on the side, really orange hat. And I, could see everyone kind of looking, and like, there she is. And for this particular swim, we had to start in the water. Normally we don't have a dive start, but we had to start in the water. And it happened. I got into the water as we were kind of all wading in, and I kind of moved over to one side, and like 3 girls kind of, they stuck themselves to me, and I was kind of like, this doesn't feel comfortable, and I don't think I like where this is going. So I kind of like moved back, and I moved over to the side, and then they followed the exact same thing again, and I thought, yeah, okay, my plan is going to have to be executed now. So they usually give you like a minute warning, 30-second warning. And I counted to 20 essentially after that 30-second warning. And I was kind of getting ready, and everyone was moving as we ran. And then when I thought I only had 10 seconds to go, I thought, now is my chance. So I went underwater and did 3 or 4 really big breaststroke pulls so I could move across from where they were. Underwater, this is the most ridiculous thing. And I took off the orange hat, which I had on, but I actually had a black hat on underneath. So I had 2 hats on, a black hat and the orange one over. So I knew they were looking for me in the orange hat. But I'd taken that off, and I just put that down the back of my swimsuit. And as I popped up, I heard them say go. So I just put my head down and I sprinted off. And my coach was watching the whole thing happen. And he didn't actually realize I'd done that. He didn't think I had it in me really to do it, but I needed to. I needed to do something. And I managed to get in front, and I led every single meter of that 10K. And apparently the girls were like, there's only one other girl wearing an orange hat, and that was a girl from the Netherlands. And I don't think she was that impressed with me, to be honest.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
That is one of the best stories I've ever heard.
It was very cool. It's one of those stories that all worked out.
And does that also show as well on the people who are trying to box you in, on their mentality, that they were worried more about what you're going to do as opposed to what they're going to do? So in terms, they've already got in there. They've already lost before they've even got in there, because they're not concentrating solely on what they've got to do. And then for you to have the ingenuity to think, right, okay, swimming sideways underwater while taking a hat off is not an easy feat anyway. but in doing that as well, though, did that get your adrenaline going even more? So you felt like, right, I need to slow down a bit when you started off?
Yeah, definitely. I thought actually, like, it worked. Oh my goodness, it worked. I'm still where I am right now. Let's just focus on what we need to do. And yeah, it totally worked incredibly well. I couldn't quite believe that, that had happened. And there was a few other tactics we had prepared and ready for that swim. So the feeding station was a boat, and you could go either one side of the feeding station, but it wasn't on course. So what we had done was we prepared to feed, as we call it, on my own. Like, I had all my gels in my swimsuit, down the back of my swimsuit. So if I needed to go in, I didn't need to go into the feeding station, essentially. So we decided to make the call, because we knew what the course was beforehand, that actually I was going to avoid it, because most people would go into it. So you'd get off course to go there and everyone would follow you and then you'd come back. But I didn't need to do that. So I kept using that and actually not sprinting, but really increasing my pace before we got there, because everyone then started thinking, oh, we'll have to go faster. They all went faster, but actually totally missing it. So people having to make quick decisions. Do I stick on her feet and stick with her, or do I make the call to go to the feed station, but I'm probably going to lose places, or I might even lose the top pack? So, what do I do? So people making some really interesting decisions through the swim. But again, we'd spent a lot of time that year actually thinking about the tactical element of it, and that was kind of one thing that I had prepared. But the hat thing was definitely a very, very last minute decision for both of us to think about, myself and my coach, to do that. But yeah, it paid off in the end, so that's good.
I love that story.
I'd say it paid off in the end. I wish, though, as well, I need to really do some real research and look back through, see if there's any interviews with the people who tried to box her in.
Would you admit that, though?
Well, probably not. No, probably not. No, because you've already lost the race. Well, obviously they did lose the race, but they've obviously lost in their head because they're not concentrating on the goal at the end of it. Bizarre. But I do love that story. That
was such a great story. So thank you very much to Keri-anne for sharing that with us.
Exactly. So after, or should I say, before we spoke to Keri-anne, we spoke to a very, really good friend of mine, someone who really helped me out when I did my first ever theatre run, a really good actor called Ben Nealon, and he has some great stories and some great advice on acting methods and how he learns lines.
Another quick question I'd like to just ask in regards to the method and everything which you use for yourself. When it comes to learning lines, I'm normally asked by some people, how do you learn your lines? So I'm always intrigued how other actors go about their process in learning the lines. So what would yours be?
I read the script again and 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 again. And so it starts to kind of seed into my head. And then I then tend to wait until I've rehearsed the scene for the first time. So I've got a picture of how the scene looks, because that tends to help me then. I know I'll break down the scene. So I'll go through the script and I'll break it down so I know all the intentions are and what I'm saying, why I'm saying it. But it's not until I've actually rehearsed it for the first time with the other actor that I'll be opposite and see what he or she's doing, that then that night I try and go back and learn that scene or any of the scenes that I've learnt on that day. So then a lot of it would have seeped in anyway. But then I literally do. I kind of go like... and then I go back, and if I've got one line wrong, I'll go right back to the beginning and I do it by rote and it's literally like that. But I think it's all the process that leads up to that point, which is the reading it again and again and trying to do it, get a really clear understanding of what the scene is about, and then standing it up on its feet so it moves around. Then I feel like I've got a much more three-dimensional idea of what it's about. And then I learn it. So that for me, I find it difficult to learn something before I've actually rehearsed it for the first time. So that for me would be the way that I do it. But then, of course, with television and film, it's different because, as you guys know, sometimes you might not get a rehearsal. So you have to know the lines inside out and back to front before you step on set. And it's only then that you get to rehearse it. So then it's a very different feeling. I try and learn it, break it all down so I know what I'm doing, and you know it inside out, back to front. And then when you rehearse it on the set, then that's when you have to start listening, and actually your words become less important than the words that people are saying to you, because I think Dirk Bogarde said that the big realization in his life is when Montgomery told Clift, said that they met up in a canteen somewhere, and Bogarde said to him, what scenes did you do this morning? How did they go? And he said, it was good. I did a lot of good listening. And Dirk Bogarde went, oh my God, that's the key to it. It's not about what I'm doing. It's about me reacting to what the other person's doing. So for me, the listening is so important, because if I know all of my lines and then I'm listening to James or Ollie saying lines to me, I can then react to them with the lines I've been given, rather than them saying a line and then me saying my line, they say a line, me say a line. So it's really important about that combination of it all the hard work having been done and then listening to what people are saying to you. So it's all of those things, I think.
And do you find it helps that if you know, as you said, almost their lines as well, so if they do mess up, you can bring them round?
Yeah, I mean... Or is it
a case of it's not your job on stage to save them?
Well, I take responsibility. I think I should know. I mean, I think if you know the scene well enough, you hopefully you won't need to ever do that. But there've been many occasions where that has. You know, with when you joined us, you had so little rehearsal, and Deborah, who was also joining at the same time, taking over from the two actors who were leaving, you hadn't had as much rehearsal as you would expect to have. So the first few nights, it would have been not surprising if you didn't know some of the lines or you were thrown. So you know, and I would think by that point I've been doing it for say 12 weeks. And if we were doing a scene together, I'd think, I'll just make sure that I'm on my tiptoes, just in case Ollie gives me a wrong cue, or and I need to take the scene back around so we don't lose place. So, and I don't mind doing that, but it's a difficult thing sometimes. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier about trust. If you trust the people you're on stage with, then moments like that are no problem at all, because somebody will know when to come in and when to help out. All you need to do is throw a little look, or you'll just know, and you all trust each other. And it's not about someone saying, I know your lines better than you do. It's about someone saying, this could happen to any of us at any moment. I'm going to help you out here because I sense that you're in trouble, and I'll help you. Whereas other times, an actor might say, I'm making a different choice at this point. I'm going to put a pause in here, and you've got to know, you've got to realise that's what's happening, because they might do something completely different. And if you're not thinking, and it might come up in the moment that they just go, oh, I've had this realisation, and they do something completely different. You have to be nimble enough to react to what they're doing, rather than saying, you've never done that before, I'm going to say my line the way I always say it, which then makes for really stilted theatre and really stilted performances. It's like, you know, if you're on a film, you might do one scene or a take 10 times, and every time you do it, it might be slightly different, but you know that it's going to be slightly different, and you've got a chance to do it again. In live theatre, you never know what's going to happen, and we may do a scene together where you've decided you're going to do something completely different, and I should be good enough to react to that and go along with you on that journey. And if I'm not, then I think that's really selfish on my part. So yeah.
No, I agree.
And that's the excitement about live theatre. I'm sure you found it as well, James. It's that excitement that you know your lines inside out and back to front, but the actor opposite you might do something completely different that you're not expecting. But if you're relaxed enough, you can just go with it, and it's really exciting. See what happens, and the audience sense it as well. It's kind of electricity that goes off.
I know a show I did about 18 months ago or so. I think it was like the fourth week. I was doing a scene with another guy, and Steve, and he ended up again presenting a line a different way, and so it was exciting for me as well, because it was a new way of doing it. And when we got off stage, we were both kind of smiling, and he said it just happened. He wasn't going for that. It just happened like that. Yeah, in an organic sense. And then we really enjoyed it as well. And then the director just happened to be in the house that night, and he said himself, "That was really good. What happened there?"
Brilliant.
But I know that one of the guys in that crew, he gave everyone a little card, and it actually said on it, it's amazing what people can achieve when it's something basically along the lines of, it's amazing what can be achieved if you're not bothered about getting the acclaim for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, brilliant. There's a lovely story that Laurence Olivier when he did Othello, and there was one night that it was extraordinary, and everyone was aghast, and they went round to his dressing room afterwards, and he wouldn't let anybody in, and eventually they got in, and he was in tears, and they said, but it was amazing tonight. And he said, I know, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole Lee Strasberg school of method acting came in, because what Strasberg said was, I want to teach you a method where when something like that happens, so when that guy said that line to you in a different way, because you've got to do that show another 3 or 4 weeks in a row, you can pinpoint why that happened, and then you can replicate it the next night, because you might come to that moment tomorrow night and the feeling is gone, and you might not want to do it again. So the whole method was about trying to be able to, like you said earlier on about, when you're doing a long monologue, are you aware of the audience reaction? And there is a part of you that's aware of what's happening on stage at the same time as you're absolutely in the moment. There is this kind of actor's sense of something happened there, and I'm going to think about that when I get to the dressing room and try and work out why. And it worked really well, and then I can repeat it tomorrow, because the lead up to that thing might not happen again, so I need to understand why it happened. And Strasberg always used that Olivier thing as an illustration why he was trying to, if you're going to do a show 200 times, it's impossible to be absolutely on it 200 times. So what can you do to try and ensure that you're as on it as possible every single time?
Yeah, no, amazing. It really is fascinating, I think, Ben, when you hear about the different, I suppose, moments, what goes through one's head when you're doing it. As you say, a lot of it is in the subconscious, which is
absolutely.
I suppose what anyone could put into anything, be it you're giving a presentation at work, be it you're doing whatever like that. As long as you know your stuff, it just seems to make it flow a lot easier. I mean, I cheated in our play. I had a notebook the whole time, but
you did, yeah.
Benefits of playing a policeman.
Yeah, exactly.
Very interesting stuff, and I still stand by my little story I threw in there at the end, that if you've got a prop and you can get away with using it, use it.
Yes, you do. Well, I've been looking at you actually the last couple of minutes, and I've noticed that you're either very sunburnt or there's a lot more light in your room where you have. So I've just switched my lamp on. It kind of looks like, the little lamp that jumps. I got
out of the shower about 20 minutes ago. If that helps.
Okay.
Nice hot shower.
Well, I the lamps from Pixar.
The one that jump on a ball.
Yeah. So I've got one of those on my desk. I'm trying.
What, jumping on a ball?
Yeah, but it kind of needs to. There we go. Look, I've got a tan now. Better. Okay. Sorry, you were saying.
Well, I was saying that I stand by what I said to Ben at the end of that you can get away with using a notepad. But some of the stuff what Ben was talking to us about in that whole podcast, I thought was really, really interesting, especially with all the years that he's had in the industry, talking about different theatre crowds, different places, filming in India. Just really, really interesting stuff to talk to him about there. So the next person who we would like to share with you, if you haven't listened to this one, is one of our best mates on this entire globe in which we live. Mr. Luke Youngblood, who played Lee Jordan in the Harry Potter films, which is where we first met. And we sat down and we were speaking for literally hours.
We had to edit it quite a lot to protect the innocent. Luke
and
was
he was
actually kicked out of his hotel halfway through, and he had to ask for more time from where we were filming it. But like Oliver says, he is one of our best friends. I say Luke actually read a verse at my wedding. That's how close we are with each other. So we had a really great chat with Luke, and a very, very funny guy. I'm still waiting to tell everybody what the secret project was he was working on as well.
Well, it's good. He did actually give a little hint away the other week.
Oh.
Anyway,
Anyway.
We're not going to be talking about that in this clip, what we've selected for you. No, Luke is here talking with us about the audition process for Harry Potter. And then I threw in one, which is a very embarrassing story of James, Regent Street, and a London bus. I suppose where, like, because I remember when we first met, it was on the first film on Potter.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time we'd actually seen each other, or we'd seen you at least, was in we spoke about this briefly with Bonnie the other week, was in the waiting room. Yeah, did you know that Bonnie was there as well?
Was she really?
Yeah. In that audition, she was waiting outside.
So then, hold on, because I feel like...
and Matt was there as well.
I think Matt was there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if Devon was there. It just kind of sounds like now, at least, it was a room of all the people that they wanted.
It was a room of talent.
Yes.
It was a room of talent.
But like, I remember we were just sat there in this this waiting room, because let's face it, it was an office area. So if you imagine like an old 60s, or not even 60s, 30s style building, and we're in a like the little waiting room outside before we went into the main office, but they still had tinted glass sides to it, so you could still see roughly in, and all we could hear was you just doing the Quidditch commentary on like 110%, and we were like sat there.
You see this little silhouette going up and down.
You just see your silhouette jumping up and down in the other side of the glass, and we were like, oh no, what is this what we've got to do? We haven't practiced that. And then literally the door opens, and I think it may have been Janet, the casting director, or somebody said, okay, thanks very much, Luke, and you were there with your mum, and just said, okay, great, bye. And then, quiet as anything, got on your scooter and off you went. And we were just, and the rest of us were sat in the waiting room like, right, who's next?
All right.
Yeah.
It's such a funny experience, kind of like for me, the whole booking of that job, actually, because just before that, I was in The Lion King when it first opened in the West End. And one of the young Nalas, I played young Simba in it. And one of the young Nalas, Dominique Moore, she was reading the books when we were rehearsing for it. And I remember her telling me that it was like, oh, it's Luke, it's such a good book. It's about a boy who's a wizard, but he doesn't know he's a wizard. And then he goes to this, and I'm like, how can you be a wizard and not know you're a wizard? That doesn't make sense. And then she's like, no, Luke, trust me, read it. So I had completely forgotten about it. And then I'd done it for a year. And so I finished the show, and then my agent was like, we have an audition for you for this thing called Harry Potter. And I was like, okay. And I was like, Harry Potter, why does that ring a bell? And then it clicked in my head, oh, this is the book that Dominique was reading. And so I was like, all right, well, I may as well kind of get it and just start reading it a little bit. So I started, and I was like, oh my God, this is actually really, really good. And I go to the audition. I must have got in maybe 3 chapters or something. Go to the audition, and there were no sides. There were like, I just knew nothing about it at all. And so the lady, because it wasn't Janet at that point, because she'd come over afterwards, but the casting director who they had for me the first round, she was like, okay, so it's like this game, and everybody's flying around on broomsticks, so it's all magic and stuff, and you're the commentator, so just commentate, go. And so I was like,
it sounds like casting director 101, that, doesn't it?
totally. And so I was like,
because you're such a big football fan, this must have been really easy.
James, for everyone out there, I am not a big football fan at all. But I had heard, as I'm sat there, my brother, who was a big football fan, and uncles, and everyone else actually in England, except for me, pretty much, we'll be watching football all the time. So I would hear, the commentary and be like, all right, I could do that. And so, and so I just start making this thing up. And I'm shouting at the top of my lungs, like really excited and stuff. My mum is sat outside in the car because it's the middle of summer, and for some reason it was hot that day in England. And she sat there and she's like thinking, what the hell's going on up there? Kind of like how you two were on the other side of the glass that time. And so I leave, all right, thanks. She had mentioned she wanted me to meet Chris, who was our director, Chris Columbus. And I was like, all right, cool. So then I go home and I continue to read the book. So I hadn't even gotten to the Quidditch part yet. And so it goes on, and then I arrive at Leavesden, which is where the callback for me was. And I see some people, just like other kids sat outside, which is you two, and Matt was there, and Bonnie now. And then go into the room. But at this point, they had given me, I think I just got some sides. And the sides were, it was like maybe 3 pages or something. And so I was like, go in, and I'm reading this thing, shouting, screaming. Chris is there like laughing. David Heyman's sat in the corner, just being super chill. He was just sat there just like this the whole time. Super chill, not saying anything. And Janet was there really excited. And then, just did my thing, lost all the energy, and was like, all right, thanks, left. And then you two are like, what the hell? And then a few months, but I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything for like 3 months. And so, yeah, it went, no, maybe like 2 months, because it was September.
That's right.
And you lot had started shooting already, because you've been to, was it like Gothland or something?
Yeah, we were up in Northumberland, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I didn't know that you guys, that they had even started the film, but I knew that I had this callback again. I'm like, all right, cool. But this time it was 12 pages. Like, it was the entire Quidditch commentary, which is what it was then. And it just couldn't get into my head. The lines just could not get in. And I was like constantly going over them. I was like, Mom, I can't get it. She's like, Luke, just do whatever you can. And so I was like, I don't want to go in for it. She's like, Luke, you've got this far. You may as well just go. So we drive up there. She wasn't one of those pushy stage moms. Like, just get in there. Right, smile, come on. So I go, we get there, and I'm outside the studio. And because I don't know this the way that I feel comfortable wanting to know these lines, I'm like nervous. And I'm like, Mom, I don't want to do it. She said, Luke, I've driven you all this way, which is probably like 45 minutes, which for us in England is a really long time.
It's an effort. It's an effort.
It's a proper effort. All the way from Camden Town to Leavesden, which is just outside Watford. And she's like, you're going in. And so I was like, fine. And so I go in, I'm like, hi guys. And it was the evening time. It was dark at this point. And I think it was just because you guys had been filming all day. And then Chris comes up, everyone comes up after the shoot. And so I'm sat there and start going through this these sides, and the words just leave me completely. And so after that, I just made the whole thing up. I just made
as in like even just like the quaffle and the snitch and things like that.
No, well, I knew about the quaffle and the snitch,
okay,
and the beaters and like all of the Seeker, and I knew that Harry Potter was gonna catch a snitch at the end of it. So I kind of like knew where I was going with this story, but the details of what happened were completely different to what they had written. Like, oh, he just got hit in the face over there. It's like, that didn't happen. But I had to just go for it, and so I just winged it. But I still kind of like kept the essence of what they wanted and what was required. And they asked if I was able to do a costume fitting, and me and my mum were like, yeah, okay. Get fitted for the school uniform and the cloaks and that. And then by the time I got home, there was a message on the answering machine from my agent saying, call us as soon as you get this. In England, agents don't stay at work after 5:30. They are out of there. You're calling them the next morning. So I knew that it was something big. And then they told me that I booked him. I was like, oh my God, yes. And they said, okay, well, you start work on Monday. And this was like Friday or something. I was like, huh? And then obviously I was I was there on set with you lot, and you've been there. So I think I might have officially been the last person who was cast in the movie.
So did you have a wig fitting as well, or was that the first day when you got?
All of that was. I think that was around that same time.
Yeah.
So they had done. I think I did the costume, and they said, "Okay, yeah." I think it was around that same time because they had to work super quickly, and so and it was Elspeth. I'll never forget her name because it was, to me at the time, like it sounded so unusual, and so she like put all this like plastic wrap stuff on my head, taped it down to get the exact size and shape of my head, and then when I arrived, this wig was ready, and I remember you lot.
I remember the first time, which was probably about 3 weeks later. I saw you without it on. I was like, well, "Where's your dreads?"
And that was because it was so convincing. And even to this day, like when I tell people that, "Oh no, that was a wig," the look on their faces, they're like, "Huh?" But it was. I mean, I might need it back. Now I feel like my hairline's starting to, you know. But it was cool to be in it because like we've known each other for almost 20 years now.
Yeah, I mean it would be getting on to 20 years at the end of this year. Yeah, because we were. I think we met for the first time probably on the Great Hall set, maybe.
Yeah,
and then after that, like our dressing rooms were right opposite each other. Exactly. Obviously similar age, very similar in terms of humor and
trying to
just like enjoying it really, and especially with like the other, like the girls who were on the Quidditch team as well.
Yes,
like Danielle and Michelle and people like that. They were so much fun.
It was so.
Remember we were pulling pranks on each other. I think it was the second film, wasn't it? There's little pranks going on, and by the end of it, we literally went downstairs, and they had like these huge trees in plant pots, and we somehow managed to crack this tree.
I feel like if it was any other job, we would have been fired instantly.
Yeah, very quickly.
We just kept playing the whole, no, we're in character, this is what we need to do.
And it was kind of weird how that played out actually, because like our characters being best friends, us being best friends on set, and just like hanging out with the other Quidditch guys, like it just all kind of made sense in a weird way.
Definitely. No, so I know I put this on the other day, but for your birthday actually, but I found these again. Remember that day when we went to Madame Tussauds?
Yeah, there was. Do you? Actually,
that would be King's Cross, wouldn't it?
It was by.
No. I mean, we would have been filming at King's Cross, I think.
Oh yeah. Do you remember how cold it was that day?
Yes. It was freezing.
Absolutely freezing. Yeah. Pretending to be September in like January.
That day though, after we decided to go to Madame Tussauds, because we did the whole get there early and line up, and then the vending machine ate our money. I'll never forget. Whenever I drive past Madame Tussauds now, I still see that vending machine thinking, so if you're ever in line to Madame Tussauds, do not buy anything from that vending machine.
Don't do it.
I remember after we were crossing London and we decided to get on the old Route Masters. You know where I'm going with this one.
I know exactly where you're going with this. Keep going, James.
So the old Route Masters, for those of you who are listening, are the traditional looking London buses where you can literally hang on the back of the bus on the corner.
Yeah.
So as we're going down Regent Street, everybody was kind of just hanging on, and it was slowing down. I thought, why is no one getting off? This is what you do, surely. So I jumped off, not realising
to move your feet.
Still going about 10 miles an hour. I could probably only get my feet up to about 5 miles an hour. And I rolled down the hill, took out a couple of foreign tourist groups, scared 2 old ladies half to death. And I tried to like style it out while walking off with my leg dripping with blood. There was no styling that out at all. It's people like you, James, why they put doors on the back of buses.
Exactly.
Tourists.
But the funny thing was as well is that your mum and dad had seen the whole thing. I remember your mum was like, yeah, good one, James.
It's always good when you have a story that you never, ever forget. As I say, it was amazing talking to Luke and hearing all about the auditioning process. And also, I suppose when you think about it, how last minute it was from him finding out to when he was turning up filming. But also how you found out that when you run off a bus, you can't keep up at 20 mile an hour. You need to keep running your feet before you hit the floor. And yes, to this day, our family don't let him forget about it.
No, especially when it still hurts. It did hurt at the time, and it still hurts my ego now. But actually, Oliver, did you know?
Oh, did you know? Are we doing a Did You Knows now?
This isn't really a Did You Know, but this is more of just a thing for you. So after we were chatting, Luke actually messaged me, and he was asking about that thing there behind me, my telescope, because I kind of nerded him out a little bit with what I'd been looking at that time, which was in the sky. And he's actually gone and got himself one.
Has he?
So there you go. Yep, there you go.
Wow. Okay. Very, very good. Well, if there's anyone with a spare telescope hanging around and they want to send it to me.
Just buy it. I'll tell you what, though, this week it's been fantastic for stargazing and star watching.
Why is that? Is there a new nebulous
there was
on the horizon?
The comet was out last week, so I actually found a really great spot with...
What was the name of the comet?
Okay.
What's the name of the comet?
Comet Neowise.
Neowise.
Yeah.
What?
Well, actually, it's got like some.
I thought
name,
comets had names like Halley.
Yeah, but this was named after the observatory where it was seen.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it wasn't someone who's like a massive native.
It's got some kind of boring, nerdy Comet 3.4x32 or something like that. But anyway, that's what everyone knows. So anyway, that was out. It's still out at the moment, but I think Friday the 24th it's just past the closest point to the Earth, so it's going to get further and further away and won't be back for another 6,000 years. So.
Oh, right. Okay. So if you're watching this on the release date, Friday the 24th, go out tonight and watch it because you may fall asleep by the next time it comes around. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I found a really great spot with very low light pollution. And also, this in the UK, you don't need to wait up late to see planets. So actually the other day was the time when so many planets were in a row and aligned. But if you start 11:30, you'll be able to see Jupiter, you'll be able to see Saturn, you'll be able to see Mars a bit further down the road, and then further on and further on. Sorry,
right.
Am I boring you?
Yeah, I'm trying to fall asleep because I'll be up at 11:30 tonight looking at it myself. I think I've got some binoculars lying around. Would they work?
Sure, why not?
Yes, okay, fantastic. I made them out of toilet paper or toilet roll. Anyway.
You're that person who nicked all the bog roll, weren't you, at the start of lockdown?
No, I'm not that sad.
Anyway, moving on. Okay, you normally have a rant. Go on.
I've really got a lot to rant about. So the next selection that I've pulled out of our archives, quite good I can say that now, archives. Anyway, was with Team GB, so a British athleting legend in swimming, Mr. Mark Foster, who spoke to us at great length about different stages of his career and what he's up to now. And this bit what I pulled out was really cool because it's about what he teaches in his swimming schools at the moment and adapting to pressure and how he teaches others to work with it and also to help combat nerves.
If you're enjoying yourself, you get so much more from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you actually get in the pool with them. So it isn't like one of these things where you just sit at the side with a coffee and be like, yeah, come on. go quicker.
Yeah, go. Ready? Go.
Yeah.
No, I get in. I do the drills and skills. I don't go in for the whole 2 hours. I get in I'll basically get them all warmed up. I've got a team of people. Katie Sexton, who's a world champion in 2003. I've got her. She helps me. But basically do a warm up with them first of all for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then I'll get in and do some drills and skills. I'll basically go, right, this is what you're going to do. Go through all the drills and skills. And then I basically get them in the water and we take them through the whole session. But it's not a question of, okay, I've got 2 hours, I'm going to fill it with a training set. It's all drills and skills. It's all the basics. It's all just peeled back. It's like a personal coaching session.
Yeah. What is it? They get the basics right and everything else will follow.
Technique is key. If you've got a technique, you can apply power to it. If you've got no technique, you're not going to go anywhere. So the pool work's really important. I've got 2 other guys that do the land work with them. So we do 2 hours of pool work, 2 hours of land work, and then 2 hours of classroom work. And the classroom work is around my story in swimming, Katie's story in swimming. But we talk about how to goal set, how to deal with setbacks. I don't know, food to eat before you race, before you train. My Olympic experiences, about meditation, about nerves. You know, because let's face it, we all get nervous. Some get more nervous than others, but also nerves show up in different ways. Some people yawn a lot. Some people want to go to the toilet. Some people just get scared, you know, but I try and get people to understand and realise that everyone's going through the same thing. You're not alone. Just that ultimately, inside our own head, we go, okay, I'm panicking, and they look cool, but inside they're panicking too.
Yeah.
So I get them to channel those nerves. I can't say panicking, but, you know, whatever. But I get them to channel them into the positive way of those nerves are extra energy, and you should be excited about what you're going to do. Forget everyone else. What you're going to do. If you do a best time that day, brilliant. And if you don't, brilliant. As long as you do your best.
Is that the case of, like, you're saying that people needs to go get yourself ready type thing, and the meditation side of it, is that taking care of stuff? What's, like, say, I don't know, you may have something going on outside of training, whatever, and it's channeling that into what you're doing to make yourself better.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different techniques, and people might be struggling with different things. Whether that means, you know, personally at school, rather than say personally at home. But when it comes to the pool, you want to create an environment where people can go and they can just be themselves. Where people can go and they can. Let's face it, we all know when you're doing sport or you're focused on something, you forget about everything else for that period of time. You're just in the moment. You're just doing it. And I try and get people into the now when they're doing what they're doing. Standing behind the block, and sometimes, I mean, for me, it was the night before I raced. I visualised my race. You know, I visualised the 8 lanes. I put myself in different lanes next to different people, and I put myself in the pool, and I go through the whole process of whistle going, stepping onto the block, the sound of the water, the sound of the crowd. Take your marks, go. I'd have a stopwatch in my hand and visualise the whole race from start to finish with a stopwatch, and I would probably get within 0.1, 0.2 of a second of the time I'd actually do, just by diving in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, I took 32 strokes from the gun going to it in the end, 32 strokes I don't breathe. So you go through these little components, because what you're trying to do is teach your mind. Your mind doesn't know the difference between doing and thinking that you're doing. So when it actually comes to doing, you feel more relaxed doing it because you've done it so many times. And that's the thing with anything in life, that you train so that when it comes to the actual performance, you don't think. And they talk about being in the now, being in the zone, whatever. You're just in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And is that, I suppose, as you say, that could go with anything. It could be with, I don't know, a job interview. Like, you could practice how you do that thing, and just readapting it to that moment.
Example. Because I don't know if I've ever done a job interview.
No, I haven't. I mean, I've done some auditions, and they were almost the other way around. It's almost like overthinking it, over panicking.
Both been into castings and gone, okay, I think they want this. And you kind of getting stuck with certain things rather than, I don't know, just presenting yourself.
Yeah. No, it is. But then there's other times when we've gone for like James and I went for an audition, I remember last year, and there was these really obnoxious people there. And for some reason, that just fueled me more than anything. I was just like, you know what? I want it for me, but I want it so you don't get it. I was actually seething in my head. But that almost turned into more motivation for me to do it, because it was almost a distraction from, okay, what would happen if I didn't get it, as opposed to, well, what's going to happen if we do? They're going to get a phone call saying, you're not good enough, mate. They're better. And that was almost as bad as that sounds, as competitive it sounds. But I think everyone needs a bit of a spark to get them going.
I think everyone needs to find their motivation, whatever that motivation is. Now, it might be that my mum used to say to me sometimes, I'll give you one example in particular. 1999 World Championships, Hong Kong. I went over. She didn't come up. She used to watch me race a lot. And she was my inspiration. She was the one that pushed me as a kid. And I went off. I won 2 world championships, the 50 fly and the 53. And I remember after the 53 ringing her, and she said, how did you get on? How did you get on? And I went, I won. And she went, oh, that's good. And she went, well, what was your time like? And I went, no, it was off my world record. And she went, well, that's not very good, is it? And that was my mum all over. It was never quite good enough. Yeah. But that's just her, and she just does it. She doesn't do it for any reason. That is her. But I do remember going, I'll show you. Yeah, I'll show you. I'll get praise from you next time. She didn't do it deliberately. That was just her. No. But I used that as a bit of a fuel and my motivation for me. She loved me whatever I did. But I went, okay. You wait till next time then. I'll prove it. I didn't break the world record every time, but I kept it
going on that, Mark, what was the better feeling for you? I know it's probably a stupid question to ask, but whether you have the WC of world champion or WR as world record holder?
Oh, that's not a silly question. James, no question is silly.
I don't know. Hang around a long.
I've got one. I've got one.
Yeah.
It's a very good question. The thing is, become world champion. You're world champion forever. You broke a world record, it's for a moment, and someone else will beat it at some point. Records are there to be broken. But when I broke the world record for the 50 freestyle, I could say I was the fastest human being on the planet to travel through water, which is pretty cool.
Ever. Yeah.
Ever. I mean, it got beaten a year later, 2 years later. I mean, I broke it a couple of times. But at that moment, I'm like, there was no one faster on this planet than me through water, apart from obviously a fish. But a human being.
Yeah.
So that was kind of quite a cool thing to say.
Well, I think if you could say anything, to say that you're the fastest as anything is a very, very cool achievement. And especially to say you're the fastest human being in water. Awesome. I absolutely loved that whole chat we had with Mark. And so, as I say earlier in the show, if this is the first time you've heard any of the interview, what we've done with any of the guys today, go back through the archives and listen to them. They are well worth it.
Yeah, Mark was really great, wasn't he, to explain, especially the flag carrying ceremony story. That was really interesting. So I always wonder what happens during the day. But yeah, really good. At the moment as well is when the Olympics in Tokyo should have been happening, but as it stands, they've been put back a year. So let's all hope the world is back to normal for this time next year.
How's your swimming been anyway, James? You've been in the sea lately?
No, funny enough, I haven't.
Oh, right. Well, there goes that question. But moving on.
Question. Have you been in the sea?
Oh, I don't know.
I do it every day.
Why not? You could go for a little dip.
Yeah, I could do, but I haven't.
Well, you've been doing the running, been doing the cycling. You know, us elite athletes do triathlons every now and then.
When was the last triathlon you did?
It was a while ago, but I've done it. Anyway, moving on to, I suppose, trying to think of a good way to move into this one. Got it. Okay, so as things are starting to get back to some type of normality, or the new normal, as we'll call it, cricket is being played again now in England. It's being played again, and the test series between the West Indies and England is currently on right now. Series tied at 1-1. And we sat down and spoke with a good friend of ours who is current England Cricket Board selector, Mr. James Taylor. And he talks to us about, in this clip that I pulled out of the archives, of how he found out about his heart condition, which in an instant stopped his playing career and very nearly would have, had it not been treated immediately, stopped his life, because a very few percentage of people actually survived the ordeal that James found out about. But if you listen to it, it's an amazing, amazing story. And you also get across the full upbeat of how he feels about it.
But in that time, though, whilst playing for England, both at the one-day series and the test series, you still knocked up quite a few runs, didn't you? So it wasn't like you can look back with regret on you didn't do anything. So that was good.
Exactly. No, I was really, really proud of it, and I scored 100 against Australia. And if there's a side that you're going to score 100 against, it's probably the side that you wanted. So I got 98 not out, and then I followed it up the next summer with 100 against them to win the game as well. So if you're going to score runs against the side, it's probably Australia as well, which I was proud of.
And then I guess we should go forward to April 2016.
Yes. So for those that don't know me, I'm sure there's a lot listening that obviously don't. But so I was obviously a cricketer. I played cricket for England, and then the longest time I had off in 10 years of being a professional sportsman, I think 9 or 10 years, I think was 3 weeks. And that was the 3 weeks after I got back from that tour, which Ollie was talking about, me taking those catches. I had 3 weeks off because I needed them, and I needed to refresh for the season coming up. I had 3 weeks off, longest stint in my career that I had off. First game of the season, just preparing for the first game of the season, warming up. And then it hit me. Something hit me. Nothing physically hit me, but some in my chest. My heart sped up to 265 beats per hour and was like that for 7 hours.
Per minute, you mean? Per minute?
Sorry. 260 beats.
And your normal one would have been about 50. Is that right?
Yeah. Even now, I can sleep at. This is the thing. When I got rushed to hospital and I was in bed sleeping, I was sleeping at 32 beats per minute because I was so incredibly fit. We've missed out a big chunk of the story there, by the way.
Yeah. But we'll go back.
So I sleep in hospital. The machines were going mental because they're not used to a professional sportsman having a heart problem being connected to the machines. They're used to a bit older people being in their ward, and the machines are calibrated to, if it goes below 60, your heartbeat, they start making noises. Mine was, I was sleeping at 32 or trying to sleep before the machines kicked off. So I can rest at about, I can sleep at about 32, but resting heart rate is usually about 45. And so it's 265 beats per minute. My heart was going mentally in my chest. Cut a long story short, the physios at the games thought it was a virus. Fair enough. Thought it was a virus. Got told to go home, went home. Heart was still going mentally in my chest, and I could feel it. I could see it in my it's out my shirt. I thought I was going to die at 10:30 a.m.
I think I changed you playing that down when you said you were told to go home. You were literally hours away from home at the time.
Yeah, I was in Cambridge, and to not anybody that knows that journey to Nottingham, it's 2.5 hours. And that, like, I should. The thing is, I thought I was going to die at 10:30. I was put on oxygen at 10:30. I went to the loo to try and be sick. Couldn't be sick. Couldn't breathe. Thought that's the first time in my life I thought I was going to pass out, and I actually wanted to because I was in that much pain, and it was just so weird that it would just be easier if I just passed out and it would be better. So that was at 10:30. I got taken home to see a doctor. The doctor couldn't see me till 6, so basically I was waiting to see the doctor at 6. I should have died on that journey home, but luckily I didn't. I think it was because I was so fit. My heart could withstand all this trauma that I was going through. Got home. It's typical. I didn't have my keys to my house because I was so ill. I left everything at the ground. So my car, all my clothes, my car keys, so my house keys. So I got left. I said to my mate that dropped me off, I said, just leave me. I went to Trent Bridge and I rang my mum, said, can you come and pick me up and take me home? Because she had a set of keys. So she found me. I was curled up in a ball at the bottom of the stairs at Trent Bridge. Again, I should have died there. How she found me, I don't know, because she doesn't really know how to get there. So she found me, luckily, took me home, progressively got worse. By now I was being sick everywhere because my body was packing up. It was just looking after my vital organs. Rang the doctor, said, look, I'm really struggling. I had shoulder pains, sign of a heart attack. He said, don't wait for me, go straight to hospital. Don't wait for an ambulance, get your mum to take you straight to hospital. Went to hospital. By this time I was like grey. Again, got into hospital, was sick everywhere. Rushed me straight through to, if you've seen Casualty or any drama films where it all happens and it all kicks off. Hooked me up to the machines, and I will never forget their face. They were astonished. They couldn't believe what my heart was doing. It was going at 265 beats per minute. So imagine the noise of the machines. It was chaos in there, just seeing the doctors running around. And it was bizarre because my body was failing me, but my mind was so switched on here. And I can remember everything. And I've got a memory like a sieve, which is bizarre. But I can still remember everything. And that was when the doctor said, you've had an episode. And I was like, what are you talking about? and he thought I'd had a heart attack at the time. As it was, it wasn't officially a heart attack. I was just in VT for 6 hours, which was the equivalent of doing, in 5 hours, which was the equivalent of doing 6 marathons on the bounce in 5 hours.
So in terms of actually finding a condition like that, like talking about the symptoms you've had, I would imagine that Joe Bloggs down the street, who maybe goes to the gym once a week, or if that, goes for a walk or whatever around the block, they probably wouldn't find that condition until they're doing a post-mortem, would they?
Exactly, that's spot on. I mean, when I was in hospital for 3 weeks as a result of it. I couldn't walk for the first week because my body had gone through so much. And then it took them a week to find out exactly what it is. It actually took them a lot longer. But they told me basically my career was over. I couldn't exercise. I couldn't drink. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. And so I was obviously so emotional. I was like in hysterics. My world and my life was over. That I knew all I'd done was prepared to be the best I could and be international sportsman. That's all I knew. And then that's all taken away. The carpet just pulled from underneath your feet. But then the thing that brought me around was when the doctor goes, well, if it's any consolation, you should have died. And 80% of the time, this condition is found in the post-mortem. So you're right. So 80% of people that go through what I went through, the symptoms are extraordinary because I shouldn't have gone through what I went through. I should have just died straight away. But I was very lucky. The stars aligned, and a lot of people aren't as lucky. 80% of people aren't as lucky as I am. For some reason or another, whether it was I was so fit or all the stars aligned, it allowed me to battle through. And luckily, I got through. And like you say, 20% of people survive what I survived, so that's a small percent. So that's what got me through. After being told my world was over, that I knew, he said, well, you're very lucky to be alive. And then from then on, it's all a plus, isn't it? Life is a great option to have, and I did have that, and I was very fortunate.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of like the ARVC, do you want to explain what that stands for? And also as well on the other side to it is, what is is that something? I know it's like an inheritary condition, but is it something that is developing progressively as you age, or is it literally like a ticking bomb, as it were, just waiting to go off? Or is it, as I say, or is it developing the more or less exercise you do and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, you've covered it. You see, he's clever. He's done his research, hasn't he?
See, when you're wearing a headset like this, you need to know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
It's got people telling you, and that's why.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's all the information coming into his head from the producers at the back. Yeah, so ARVC stands for arrhythmia right ventricular cardiomyopathy. And it's an inherited heart condition, which obviously nobody knew about. It tends to be basically the father dies and the children survive. That's generally, unfortunately, like the world we live in is a tough place, and that's what happens a lot of the time with this condition. The reason why that is because the father's heart condition, or let's say the mum's heart condition, isn't detected, but then as a result of that, they have the post-mortem, they see what happens, so then the whole of the family get tested, and then they're aware of it so they can manage it. As a result, I very fortunately survived, and then my whole family went through the screening process, the genetic test, and it came from my mum. And it's a condition that is accelerated with exercise. So as a professional sportsman, it's not ideal.
No.
And it just gradually gets worse. And in my book, I go into a lot of detail, and I don't want to go into that detail now, but it was first flagged up when I was 19 years old that I had potentially had some issues with my heart, and that just got bypassed. And it flagged up a few times, and no, we didn't know about it. They all said it was fine. Basically, cut a long story short, it's more detail in my book. At 19 years old, I should have been told I should never ever play sport again.
Okay.
And I'm lucky. In my eyes, I always think positively. I was very lucky to have the career I had, because I should never have had that career, because I should have been told to stop exercising at age 19, knowing that I have that condition, knowing that my condition is accelerated with exercise. And I was the fittest person in the England team, pound for pound, the fittest and the strongest in the England team. So think of all that exercise that I put myself through from the age of 19 to 26 when I finished. That's accelerated my heart condition, and luckily I managed to survive when I probably shouldn't have.
Did that also, in another flip of the coin though, did that also save your life in regards to you were so fit that you could cope when it happened?
Yeah, I reckon so. That's the way I'm putting it. I was, like I said, the stars aligned, everything worked, but the structure of my heart was so strong and so good. It allowed me to go through, and my heart to go through what it shouldn't have been able to go through. It should never have been able to withstand what it went through. But I think because I built it up and it is so strong structurally that I could withstand it. So yeah, so when your heart's under stress, it releases an enzyme called troponin, and your usual levels are 0. And mine, when I was in hospital, when I walked into hospital, were 42,000. Just to understand how much stress my heart was under. Like doing 6 marathons in 5 hours. That's good effort.
Yeah, you can't really have a misread on those figures, can you?
So then you left, like say, you left hospital after what, 3 weeks? Did you say?
Yeah, so I was in hospital for 3 weeks. Whilst I did all the tests, I couldn't walk for the first week. And most people say, "Oh, you don't want to be in hospital. It's the worst place to be." I think that's fair. It is. But there was nowhere else in the world that I wanted to be. I was that ill. I needed to be in hospital, and I wanted to be in hospital. And I was so grateful for what the NHS did. They saved my life. They were so good. They were so caring and lovely, and put my life back together. And so positive as well. It's not an easy thing to go through, but they were brilliant. So 3 weeks, they wouldn't let me out. Basically, they wanted me to have the operation to put a defibrillator inside me, which if something goes wrong, it restarts my heart. And I was like,
how big is the defib, James?
It's about, so this is my mobile phone. It's probably that big. It's
right. Okay.
It's like, it's half the size of a mobile phone and a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that big, that thick, and eventually I had that put in. But again, long story short, I was adamant, because I was adamant that they gave me a 2% chance that it wasn't ARVC. So I was like, right, being a sportsman and loving a challenge, I was like, right, I don't have this. I'm going to be okay. And so I thought, I'm not having this operation done until I know 100% that it is what you say it is. So they wouldn't let me out unless I had some sort of defibrillator on me. So for 6 weeks, I was walking around with a vest that strapped around me. All the battery packs were around me here, and I had a big 5 kg box strapped over my shoulder and by my side. If anything went wrong, it would shock me back into life. And that was the only way I was leaving hospital. It had wires everywhere. And I had to wear this 24 hours a day for 6 weeks. And the only time I could take it off was in the shower. So I'd be like, when I got in the shower, my girlfriend at the time was like, "You're not getting in that shower. And if you are, you're out straight away." Just because she was so scared.
Hour-long shower.
And so I had to sleep in it. That was tough, but it was what I needed. And then, quickly, 6 weeks later, I had the operation, major heart surgery, where they implanted this defibrillator, which is inside me now, which restarts your heart if anything goes wrong. And it's gone off twice, which is.
I was going to ask about that, because you talk about it in your book as well. Like the first one is, well, you're giving a speech, and it goes off there very soon after all this happened, pretty much. And the other one was in a swimming pool. Is there, I know it sounds a stupid question, but do you feel it that much in terms of because it's so close to you? Do you feel however many 100 or 1,000 volts, whatever it is, shooting through you?
Yeah, that is, it's just, that's the thing in my life. It's a constant fear, and I was a pretty tough guy, I thought, and deemed myself to be pretty tough and brave and didn't get scared that much. And I was invincible. As a sportsman, you're invincible. When nothing bad's happened to you, you're invincible. And when you know you're not invincible, that is a horrible moment. And it hits you like that. But with my defibrillator, I was doing a speech up on stage, and my heart rate was already pretty high because I was stressed. I had a long day and I was running late, so I kind of got to the thing as quickly as I can to do the speech. My heart rate was already raised, and then it got anxiety levels. You're doing a speech, so they rise a little bit, and it never stopped. So my heart rate never stopped, and it went up to over 300 beats per minute. Until the defib tries to pace you out. It tries to pace your heart out of the rhythm that it's in, until it can't. And I can remember speaking. I was up on stage with somebody, and they can remember underneath my eye, my cheek just like pulsing here really badly. And obviously I knew nothing of it. And then before you know anything, you've gone poof, and it literally kicks you back into life, or it kicks you out of that rhythm. And I got shot back. I'm going to say I probably got shot back the width of your arm span. And it's that powerful. It's effectively like being hit by Anthony Joshua, I imagine, and kicking your hands. Not that I'd ever want, but so being hit is the only way I can, or being shot. I've never been shot, but I can imagine what it's like. Something just goes straight through you. So being hit by Anthony Joshua and putting your hands in the main electrics. So poof, and then it's amazing. After it happened, I can remember it being like, oh my God, that was unbelievable. Obviously not in a good way, but like, what has happened? I can't believe that's just happened. And obviously I had a mic, so the sound of this thing was in the mic, like through the room, and you would have heard it if you were, I reckon, 100 yards away because of the mic. And it's hard to explain, but obviously it's painful. But the fact that it's restarted your heart, and I could speak straight away. Usually it knocks people out, but or you lose consciousness for a little bit. But I spoke straight away, and I made a joke because I was talking about my defib when it went off, and I said, well, if you want to know what a defib looks like going off, you've just seen it. And like I got a couple of laughs, and I was like, I'm sorry, I've got to go. So I just walked out. And this was 3 weeks. This was 3 weeks after my operation that I was adamant I didn't want. And I'm amazed from a number of things. One, what it was, the sensation it was like, but also that because it's a fresh wound, my scar here was still pretty fresh, that it didn't like bust it open completely.
Yeah. And in terms of doing it like that soon afterwards, because I would have thought after 3 weeks of major surgery, as you said, like you'd had a full day. What was it doing press or something like that? Then in London, then trekking all the way to do this speech. In hindsight, was that too much too soon, or was it just a case of trying to stay relevant with everything else?
No, that's spot on. Exactly. Trying to stay current, trying to make some money. Ultimately, I've been a professional cricketer where you're making a great international cricketer, you're making a great earning. To having the rug pulled from beneath your feet, you've got no earning now. You've got no money coming in. You don't know where your life is. I'm trying to forge a career for myself in the media, doing speeches, Q&As, getting myself out there because I'm still current. The story was quite big in the press, so I needed to make the most of it, and people wanted to hear my story, so I was getting myself out there. But ultimately, I needed to make a bit of money, so I got myself out there. My agent got me out there. It was brilliant, and we thought, yeah, we can manage this. We've got to be careful, but we can manage it, basically to earn a little bit of money. And it was too much at the time, and also things that you learn. Like I was adamant with my doctor. I didn't want to be on too high a dosage of medication. Because my heart rate was so low anyway, if I went on beta blockers that took my heart rate even lower, it could be too low. So I was like, no, I'll be fine on this. I was trying to push for the lower dosage because I didn't think I was that ill. And then little did I know I was really bad. I didn't realise how bad my heart was. So yeah, it was a combination of me trying to earn a living, doing too much, and a couple of other things as well.
So since then, I guess that you have to limit how high your heart rate gets, and that includes any kind of stressful environment, or if you get too much into watching a TV program or sport. Is that right?
Oh God, it's like you don't imagine. I hope you see me here and you think, oh, it looks all right. And from the outside, it's great. I hope. But it's bizarre, the feelings that you have. I feel it. If I wanted to, I feel it every single second of every day. I can't lie on my left side because I feel my heart. I'm just super sensitive to everything. Too much chili, it will get me. My heart goes mental, starts doing somersaults in my chest. Too much chocolate, alcohol I can't drink too much of, like things like crossing the road. I always think twice before like making a quick movement, because obviously that raises your heart rate. Nerves, I do everything to avoid getting nervous. Obviously exercise is a no-no to a certain extent. So everything I do, you always question.
So in terms of like going, I mean, trying to bring us not back around, but involving the cricket element to it as well. England won the one-day World Cup last year for the first time ever. To me, the most nail-biting thing I've ever seen in my life. I was making dinner at the time, and it took me the best part of 45 minutes just to boil some pasta, because I kept going in, watching it. Oh, it's not over yet. It's back on. It's not. It is. And they won it literally with the final. Like, you're talking a yard or two from losing the World Cup to winning the World Cup. How was that to you, also having the personal investment in the guys playing?
It was, I mean, that's a 4-year process to get to that. The difference between winning and losing being about that far is a 4-year process. I started that process as a player, and then I finished winning the World Cup as a selector. So I've been a big part of it. Albeit behind the scenes, especially as a selector, it's all the players. You obviously select them, but the players go out there and do your thing, and they did a magnificent job, and they performed so well throughout those 4 years to get to that place, and they earned the right to be in that place, but to win. And I was cool. I thought, I'm doing great here. I'm so cool considering we're in the World Cup. I was more intrigued to see how the players were going to perform under that pressure. I'm like, I'm cool here. And then it got down to that super over. So the last final dying embers of the game. And I was like, oh God, my heart was going mental. So I actually had to walk out. I do it discreetly, because if I raise attention, it's bad for everyone else. But that raises it in. It's like if you're trying not to sweat, you're wearing a nice suit and you're trying not to sweat, you think, oh, I'm getting hot here. And then you get hotter and hotter the more you think about it. It's a bit like that with your heart. The more you think about, oh, my heart, I can feel it. Oh, my heart. And then it just starts raising because you get more anxious. It's a bit like that. So I had to disappear out the back quickly. That was the World Cup. I mean, what a moment. But yeah, that gets me. Those nerves. And it's just being anxious, your adrenaline. Adrenaline's like bad for your heart, obviously. But the other time it's happened, major events. I'm Anthony Joshua's biggest fan. I love him. And his fight versus Klitschko, one of the best fights ever. Brilliant. And when he knocked him down, I think for the second time, I was so excited and the adrenaline was flying everywhere. I was like, oh, I had to just quickly just shuffle out. I was in a bar that was packed to the rafters. And when he knocked him down, it should be like, oh, I had to just walk out because the adrenaline was flying everywhere. I was so excited just to calm myself down. And my wife is great. She's like my psychologist and nurse and everything that just calms me down because she knows me. It's so important to have those people that know you so well that you can speak to and offload things on. But she can just look at me and tell what's going on. And she knew my heart was going mental in my chest. So I went outside and calmed down. But these moments, it's everything in your life. Like so many times daily that you realize where your heart's at and how fragile my body is. From being a professional athlete, and all you did was hammer your body, hammer yourself physically, and I loved it. I loved challenging myself physically. And then mentally, you obviously have your insecurities, but physically, I was as strong as anything, fit as anything. And then your new body happens, this big event happens, and your body is so fragile, and it just knocks you for six. And it takes you a while to get used to the new normal. Your world's been flipped upside down, quite literally. So now mentally I'm really tough, but physically I'm nothing. compared to how I was. So it's just getting used to the new normal, I call it, and I'm getting there. I've got a great life, so I can't.
There you go. The new normal. I knew that was a good term to use.
Yeah, very good. It was as if you'd already listened to that.
Oh, right.
That was very...
No. I just think great people think the same.
But I think, what's been really good about doing the whole podcast thing is that, like we said before, we've been able to chat to old friends and learn about things which we never would ask each other about before. The best one that I can think of, and the most exciting one that I had on a chat level, as it were, because never dive into kind of speaking about certain things, was with our dear sister, Bonnie Wright. When we asked Bonnie if she wanted to come on it, she was up for it, because she was our third guest.
Yep.
And she was very happy to come on, very excited to come on. So we literally just pressed record on the microphone and just chatted away. So not only did we learn about all things Potter from her, which we never talk about, but it was also great for her to talk us through all of the environmental stuff that she's been doing. And pardon that, the dog's off again.
Is he still talking in the background?
He's trying.
Has he not learned in 12 episodes, keep quiet when the light's on?
No, he likes to be heard. Anyway, Bonnie was, chatting to us about all of her environmental things. And ever since then, it's been great to actually hear even more people have been taking up just little things like taking your own coffee cup to the coffee shop to get things like that done, using your own bags for life. Any little help can help the environment. I myself have got a big water tank now put in the back end of my garden, so in the winter it'll collect rain, so I won't need to use the hose to water the plants. I can use that instead.
Fantastic. That's always nice. I should probably do that. In fact, I will do that.
Thank you for your input in this discussion. But anyway,
there we go. But what we're talking about with Bonnie, because a bit like the other chats we've had with a lot of the guys, we were talking for so long, even just about the old times, even just about stuff that has no significance to anything else on this podcast. But so we chopped it all down. So the bit that I've chopped down for people to listen to is with Bonnie, being Potter related. I thought people would enjoy it. It's talking about certain parts of filming Harry Potter.
Like the Harry Potter film sets were just like so set up, and you go on other film sets and you're like, oh, whoa, I like really started back to front with this. Like you start with these like huge, amazing sets, and then you realize like there are very many different versions and spectrums
of doing it.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, what would you say would be then in terms of like the differences? I say talking about differences and going on to different films away from Potter, but in terms of the Potter films, what would you say was the one that stands out the most filming wise?
Ooh.
So I'm not. I don't mean as in like it was better because I mean in terms
of
so we were always asked what's
it's
the best
hard
one,
because
which
I
find
feel
hard
like
to do, but
yeah, there was like different. Like the Chamber of Secrets is really cool because suddenly I was actually acting, whereas in the first one I was just like in that one scene, and I really enjoyed it because we did all these like different weird like B-roll stuff, which is meant to be all the stuff where like she's taken over by Tom Riddle's diary, and there was all these like weird kind of cutaway stuff that we did that felt quite experimental. Like there wasn't really much of a plan. We just like second unit, like me possessed by a diary. Like it was like these weird things.
Was that one filmed in Gloucester? In the
cloisters, isn't it?
In the cathedral.
Yeah, we did stuff there. Yeah.
And then with the writing the blood on the wall.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
is it true? Like, you may know. Is it true they had to cut that because otherwise it would have become a 12 or something, or a PG-13 or something like that?
Well, there was a scene where I went into the chicken coop and like killed the chickens.
Really?
Yeah, we filmed that. I'm like, what?
Did you actually?
Was this Peter Mac?
Kill it, but I was in a snowstorm.
Method.
It was like a snowstorm in this thing, and it was like me walking to the chicken coop. I mean, it wasn't like.
So was this was Peter Mcdonald directing second unit then?
I think
yes,
so.
He would have been.
Yeah, definitely.
So for those who don't know, Peter Mac is an absolute legend when it comes to this type of stuff. But
so
he's probably bringing some of the stuff he worked on Rambo into it as well. So.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I just love he was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, probably not going to get used, but we did. But so that film was fun.
Because I remember shooting in the Chamber of Secrets while we were all filming something else on the whatever. Like I said, the 2 units that are running. Obviously, you got first unit, which is the principal photography, and second unit, which is all the bigger shots. We were filming all the longer shots on second unit, and you were in the Chamber of Secrets. It seemed you were there for months.
Oh my God, we were there for weeks. And I'm like obviously half dead most of the time. So I'm just lying on the floor, like while Stan's doing all these like different things with Christian Coulson, who's Tom Riddle, all these stuff with like the basilisk. And I was just like, when am I going to wake up? And then I was like, today. No, didn't get to it. Tomorrow. And then finally it's like, I get to wake up.
At least they've washed all the rats away by then.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was a cool, it was one of my favorite sets. It was big and cool. And then, I don't know, I loved, and then they all grew on me in terms of the films being, like when I reflect back on them, I'm like, oh, but that one was really fun because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, because it does all merge into one, doesn't it, after a while?
Yeah, like I loved all the Dumbledore's army stuff. I loved that because, you know, then it was well from the 4th film we started having like different, much newer cast come in, and that was kind of refreshing. And
did you like the? I've never told anyone this, but I hated the room of requirement set.
The room of requirement set. You know what? I liked it, and then
it was cool to look at.
And then I got really claustrophobic in it.
Yeah,
and hot
because it's just like really hot. We had to wear those shoes every time we stepped into it because it was all mirrors. And then towards the end, it was just like too many people in one room. Like it got a bit hysterical. But I think that's why I like it, because I just think it was like such a specific time when everyone was just like, I don't know, just like annoying teenagers.
I think I broke at least 3 ones in that set by just throwing them around. Or I was trying to be a drummer. When you know, drummers like spin the cool. Yeah. I failed miserably.
But then I also loved all the Battle of Hogwarts. I don't know, it's hard.
Well, the Burrow was a good set.
So good. I also loved how it like changed. Like each time it was like another like weird thing added. Or that sequence we did where it was like all on fire.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah,
in the water. Yeah.
Yes, very much so. So I remember that I think you were the first person out of the cast that would actively go into the art department all the time.
Yeah.
You kind of opened the doors to everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go there for it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think my curiosity definitely led me into some good apprentice little things.
Yeah. Didn't your work experience, wasn't that at the art department?
Yeah, my like this project that I did in my like design technology A level, I think, had to be like, if other people are in class, you have to like find like a design firm that you go and work with for a week to like create this like dissertation-y style kind of project thing. So I was like, I'll just go into the art department instead. And so I had to, for the project, you had to like follow something being made. So I like tried to follow like the process of the set being made as my case study. And then
which one?
I can't even remember, honestly.
No.
I don't know.
How did you hand it in? Because it's all confidential. Did you just have to say set?
Yeah, I think it had to be like super obscure and like kind of, I don't even know how I did that. That's true. Maybe I had to like use an example of like an old set from a previous film.
Yeah.
I don't know. But then I definitely, outside of that case study, did a lot of like work experience in different departments, like when it was like the summer holiday.
Were you in AD as well?
I think I don't know if I did AD. I think I remember doing one day more like in with what's his name? Matthew Sharp? What was it? Yeah, like learning about like scheduling and doing like call sheets and stuff like that. And then I remember doing the editing department. I remember shadowing David Yates for a few days, did costume, props, art department. I can't remember what else. And then I also went into some sound stuff too, like in the post-production. I went and watched them do some of the like recording of the symphony and like with the music and yeah.
Very jealous. I remember especially the second movie when you were at Leavesden Studios for the whole time. You were literally like someone threw a bouncy ball in the room, and that's the best way I can describe it. It was like zigzagging everywhere, speak to everybody, seeing what everybody's doing.
Yeah, it's like, what does this do? What does this do? What does that do? You just gotta ask. If you won't ask, you won't get.
I really feel as I didn't utilise everything what was going on. I mean, I had a little nose in the art department every now and then, but other than that, I suppose, that was probably mostly it, I suppose. And then the rest of it was just goofing around in Rupert's room. Yeah, we definitely missed out, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just that, curiosity of like, I also think it's that when you're younger, you're just like not afraid to ask questions. Like now, I think sometimes you do things and you don't want to look like you don't know something, or I think that's just like being an adult, you have this feeling like you need to know you have your life together. But I think as a kid, there was this like innocence that meant like you would ask the most obvious things, which is kind of cool. Which I think is what was so special about getting into those films when we did, is because like it's before you kind of become like aware of yourself. Yeah. Like I think it'd be very different if you started acting when you were like 18 or something, when you're so conscious.
Yeah. Especially on a big production like that.
No, it's definitely it's definitely fun. But is there, in terms of like awkwardness on a set or something like that, because obviously there's a scene when you and when Ginny and Harry are kissing and then George is in the background type thing, did you have any idea what that was going to be like before we shot? Because I didn't have a clue. I just knew that you guys were doing your thing at the front and I just had to creepily be in the background. So I was actually watching I think it was a couple of days before or something, I was watching Looney Tunes because I'm a big kid at heart, and I noticed that when Bugs Bunny tiptoes in, very trying to be quiet but trying to let everyone know he's there type thing. So he took so I just did that and see what happened. So in the background, when you watch the film, that's why I'm looking like I'm really over exaggerating it, was to do that. But I remember doing it the first time and just thinking like, did that and then thought, right, they haven't laughed in my face yet, so I think I'm okay. But then just standing there, and I felt really awkward with it anyway, because it is a weird thing to do anyway. And then putting this toothbrush in my hole in my ear, which is actually good. It actually folded in on itself, so it made it look like I didn't really have much. Well, I don't have anyway, but didn't look like I had a lot going on in between the ears, so it just went all the way through. But was that, as I say, did you know obviously, I don't mean like planning it out throughout the whole scene, but did you have any idea how that scene was going to go on for, or anything like that?
No, not really. I think as with all things, I do think like all the blocking we did for anything was like that morning. It wasn't like that prepared in terms of like knowing how it's going to go. And I think all those kind of scenes are just so weird because you're like emulating something that's like meant to feel romantic and like this moment, and it's like so gentle, yet you're surrounded by like the most unromantic, ungentle environment that is a film set. Like it's so like profound and like kind of technical.
There's literally someone having a donut behind the camp, like on somewhere
exactly, making it, and you're like and just like so many people, and like, and then they need to do it again for some weird reason that's usually technical, and it's just like, okay, it's just weird, I think. And it's also familiar, yet that's unfamiliar. Like doing something like that on something that's really familiar is weird.
And how annoying, especially in the boroughs as well, tour after that.
How what?
How annoying was it on the press tour after that, being asked that
Oh my gosh, yeah. What's it like to kiss Harry Potter? And also even just like you meet people, and in terms of like the fan base and stuff, and obviously that's like they want to know it. That's a big question. I just say he's a terrible kisser, and then and then they'll keep it a secret. But yeah, no, it's funny. It's also just the pressure. I think you read. It was always every time the book came out, you didn't know what was going to happen to the character, so then you're like waiting to find out what happens. And then I remember when that happened, it was at first it was like, oh, that's cool. Like that's obviously such a development and like for the character, and it means that my role developed. But then like the second wave is like, oh no, now I have to like do something that's like quite significant, and loads of people are going to have their opinions on how they think it should be done, and if that's who he should have ended up with. And everyone has their opinions very much so in that world. So it's also like, oh no, now it's like a bit more of a responsibility.
Did you find then that reading the books when they came out, as you said, like none of us knew what happened to the characters or anything like that until we read the books when they came out. So we were probably the most eager fans in the world because you want to know what's happening to your character. Did you find that when you read the book for the first time, you'd almost skip through, because I was guilty of it, I'd almost skip through the general plot line. Right, Harry, George, right, what does George do now? Did you almost find that you did that, or are you a lot more literate than I am to
I didn't do that. I did slowly read it. But in my family, we'd all be reading at once, like each with our book. And I was maybe the third fastest. Like I was not the fastest and I wasn't the slowest. But so either a member of my family would get there earlier or friends would. And they'd be like, oh, did you read page 622? You're like, no, what happens on that page? And you'd be like, try and force yourself not to flick forward and look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely like your fate in the pages are coming up.
No. James, segue.
Speaking of learning things, what was it like to learn the tango?
Well,
Oliver sent me all these notes earlier, so I'm trying to put them in
you mean in the fourth?
In the fourth one, because I know that we learned.
I was so annoyed that I learned this whole dance routine.
Didn't you learn the foxtrot as well?
Well, Matt and I learned this whole tango sequence. No, I don't think it was foxtrot. But anyway, this whole sequence, this idea that like Ginny and Neville secretly loved their ballroom dancing and like had like created this whole routine that meant that like for a split moment, Harry was like saw me in a way that he didn't see me before, as like a supposed moment to like set up for the next film. But I didn't ever get to show him my tango. And Matt and I were so annoyed because I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I think all of that was fun. Like the fact they got Wayne McGregor in, who's such an incredible choreographer, to come in and just teach us like a simple routine, yet they got this like world famous choreographer in.
Again, and similar things to some, like when some of the major actors turn up. At the time, I'm definitely speaking for myself, obviously, but I had no idea what a huge reputation he had.
Oh yeah, with so many people, you don't realize, do you, till afterwards?
Definitely.
You're like, oh. Because also it just like happens to you a lot. People just show up and you're like, okay, cool, hey, nice to meet you. Which is also nice because then you feel like everyone's kind of on a similar footing because you kind of treat each other like that.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way how we were saying before, how important it was as kids to be like given the confidence that like our opinion mattered and like being there was important. And I think it was good to make us like take it seriously, but like for ourselves, not for other people.
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember when we were doing all those, when we were learning that stuff for the Yule Ball sequences, that it just seemed to be, I don't even think it was planned at the beginning anyway, that we would have that type of choreography tuition, as it were, which was in hindsight was absolutely brilliant because it was I had no idea. And the first day when we rehearsed, I can't remember, were you rehearsing with us as well, or were you rehearsing separately?
I can't remember.
I can't remember
anything.
But I remember the first time we practiced it was literally like in the film where you've got the boys on one side and the girls on the other.
Yeah,
and there was all us like who were very, I suppose, nervous, teenagers just standing there, and you've got like these girls who are, I think they were all from Italia Conti or somewhere like that, one of the dramatic schools in London, and they would, we'll do that now, and
and they're like, you're like, oh god, that's not me.
Okay, yes.
Well, isn't there that scene as well where McGonagall's teaching us and we filmed it in Oxford? Do you remember that scene?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's like that big gramophone thing, and like doesn't she get like Rupert up? I can't remember. That was like
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was
some things
exactly
like didn't
that.
even need to perform. Like we were literally living it. Like we were living that kind of like, oh no, we have to do the dance scene with them. No.
Yeah. It was cool though, because I just remember it was the first time that I think you had a skill, or you developed a skill anyway from filming, what you could take forward anywhere else, which was
True.
I did anyway.
So do you
At
use your
least
wand move? You know, we had all those, like, I love it, like halfway through the film, they were suddenly like, okay, now wand movements and like dueling needs to have move numbers and things. Do you remember that? All of the.
Do you want to know a secret, Barn?
We'll tell you a secret.
Oh, yeah.
We walked because Leeson Studios originally, unlike it is now, this amazing film set, this film studio, it was originally a factory, so it looked like a very old fashioned. It was a Rolls Royce.
Rolls Royce
factory.
Yeah.
So the inside of it was like pretty much like a factory hangar almost.
How many times?
And inside, inside they had set up all these marquees. And what I was getting to anyway is that we were walking down this way, past around the marquee corner, and we saw the guy who was teaching everyone how to do all the dueling and everything like that. He had his back to us, and we could see there was I think Evie was there, Matt. I can't remember who else. Like Alfie, loads of all the other guys were there, standing, looking quite. I don't know if confused or bored is the answer, but anyway, we saw. Well, the guy was getting really into it and like showing everyone what to do. We kind of looked at each other, stepped back, and went, "Yeah, we'll skip this bit." So we didn't actually do it.
So wait, you never learned those moves? You just decided to stick with your own wand skills?
Yeah, I mean,
we thought because they're slightly older, they'd be already a bit more advanced.
They'd be just so advanced they'd made up their own moves.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
we have our own unique style now.
That's
Or
why
you would
you
just be
look,
like, or you just be like, that wasn't part of the curriculum when we started school. That's a new curriculum.
Yeah, we deemed it as, you know how people have different kind of handwriting. That was our
Well, and also
like,
we were
not
chatting
joined
with,
up yet.
and also we were chatting with a few of the stunt lads as well, who had also seen they had already had their own interpretation of it. So they just said, yeah, so if you just hold your hand up on one of them and then go back on the other, that'll be fine.
It was so that it was just like, what? This is like kind of, I get it, but also like it was funny.
It did just show the detail that was going into everything just right,
sure.
Which probably in hindsight I would have gone into it now, looking back.
What, and done it?
Yeah, I'd have done one lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
it
at
was
least
pretty
show a bit
funny.
of
I think it was
attainment.
like pretty humorous, to be honest, the whole thing. I was
Yeah,
like, what are we doing? Like, how did my life end up here? This is crazy.
Well, that's the funny thing is, like, at times like that, you think back, and certainly now when I'm thinking about it, I was saying like, oh no, I didn't actually. I probably should have done that, but in the same token, maybe not. I don't know. It's tricky. It's tricky. Who knows? But that is all good fun. All good fun in the end. But no, I think that was it, because it's quite funny. We've been back to the. I'm trying to. Sorry,
Come on, you segue.
No, I had a spider running across. I don't know where this spider came from.
Oh my god, a bird flew into my house earlier. Thank God I managed to get it out, because it really freaked me out.
It would have been terrible audio.
It would have been just flapping in the ceiling. I realized I had too many. I feel like every bin man is coming to my street right now.
It's the corporation's bond. That's
it's all like, come to collect my recycling.
Yeah, exactly.
And
as you could have heard throughout that audio, we were literally chatting throughout all sorts of everyday life going on outside. Although I still stand by the opinion that it's some of the big conglomerate corporations trying to censor what we were trying to say, pretending to be dustbin men, as we say over here in England, or bin men, as you say probably everywhere else, or maybe even a trained...
we say bin men.
Pardon?
We say bin men.
Yeah, no, we say dustbin men as well, don't we?
What have you another?
Trash men. Trash men.
Okay.
Waste refuge collection people, I suppose, would be the
There you go. That's the word.
Anyway, as you say, but with those people that are probably working for the ducker operations who are trying to muscle in on what we're talking about. Trained carrier pigeons maybe trying to detect what's being said in the background.
What the hell are carrier pigeons going to do?
I don't know. They're going to
Out the window?
pull back. Yeah, wouldn't that be really random if you trained one up to go and eavesdrop and they come back to HQ? Right, what did you hear?
Well, no, I'll tell you what.
You couldn't actually understand what they're saying in the first place.
Thankfully, do you remember I had a little bit of a pigeon problem at the start of this podcast?
Oh yeah, did you get a hawk in the end?
Well, no, we didn't get a hawk, but they've since left the area for the time being, so that's good. But we've actually still got a really cool jay which is flying around every so often. It's a beautiful bird.
Yes, I did have a buzzard going around my garden actually yesterday, which is quite big actually. Although I did put it up. My wife bought a bee house. So it's basically like, it looks like a bird box, right? And it's got tiny little holes in it type thing. And it's for bees who are traveling and don't have a hive to go to just yet. So they've got places out. So basically we've got like a squatter's den for bees at the end of our garden. I've only seen 2 at the moment. So whether they're mates or they're just like ignoring each other because they've got different parts of the house to live in. But it's been quite nice actually. I need a name for the 2 bees what have been going in there. I don't know what to call
Ryan and Sylvia.
Ryan and Sylvia? Who's that? Sounds like you know a Ryan and a Sylvia.
Funny enough, no, but...
They're always buzzing around.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Anyway, Ryan and Sylvia. I doffed my cap. Anyway, moving on. When I was thinking about how to rearrange these different podcasts, they were done in no particular order. They were literally just done in, this one. And the last clip we've got for you today is from a very good friend of ours who is the second person to come on our show and just sit and talk for a long time about their history in the business, Mr. Joel Osment. And we were able to as well talk to him about this clip I've put up for you is when he was talking about getting into acting at a young age and also going on to star in many, many big productions. As well about how lately he's been playing the role of the antagonist, and we talk about that. What was it like for you? Because for us, we were 14 when we first started out in like a bigger space, as it were. How old were you when you first got going into like professional acting?
My first thing ever was this Pizza Hut commercial when I was 4 in LA. I had been walking through this IKEA with my IKEA's worldwide. Everyone knows IKEA. I've been walking.
Don't try and sell it for more than it is. It's foreign furniture stuff.
I was walking through that. My mom was doing some shopping, and they had this casting table, basically something that, thinking back on it now, is like, it's bizarre that they allowed this to happen. But there were these 2 casting assistants with Polaroid cameras asking to take photographs of kids that were coming in the store. They were 2 nice young women, not one creepy guy or something like that. But they were just taking Polaroids. So they asked to take a Polaroid because they're casting something. My photo got taken, got picked off a pile, and they called our number. And I went into this cattle call audition with like dozens and dozens of kids and got one line in this Pizza Hut commercial in 1992. And then right when it aired, shortly after that, the casting director for Forrest Gump saw my little snippet on there and got in contact and called me into audition for that film. And then that was like my first real project right there, doing Forrest Gump. And then it's been a pretty wild ride since then. Yeah. And it's, I think doing it then, it's definitely impossible to have a completely, you don't have the entire conception of what the industry is and what you're doing and everything. But growing up in it, I think, the experience that you guys have had too, like you do have a really, the longer you're in it and doing it from such a young age, you do have such an interesting perspective of not only what, your role is and the nature of our job, but just having been in it for so long, how much our industry has changed, the technical side of it and, other aspects of it. It's weird to have been doing it for almost 30 years now and to have those memories of being on film sets in a completely different time.
Yeah, and I suppose even, as you say, when things change, even to the case of, okay, we're going to change the role, which means basically changing the film. I remember when we were first filming pods, that could they'd like literally call a break because it wouldn't be done so instantly. Whereas now it's just swap an SD card or swap a flash drive in or something like that.
Yeah, you'll just be shooting and no one's even said it. It's like, oh, we'll just go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember the one thing that still I kind of miss, because it kind of felt like the sound of being in the reality of whatever project you were doing, was hearing the whir of the film go through the mag box. Like if you were, especially on a close-up or something, you could hear it, as I'm sure you remember. And then when that went away, you know, in the 2000s, I guess, like it was kind of like, oh, it's gone.
It's so cold. So cold.
How do we know if we're acting or not?
Yeah. But there was, I mean, as you say, there's been a load in between, but I just wanted to talk about a couple of ones, more recently stuff anyway.
Sure.
So like in terms of, because obviously like the dynamic of different characters, what you play. So there's like so obviously there's like sex ed teachers, extremely wicked, shocking, evil and vile. And then you go to more like The Boys or Entourage or Silicon Valley, or even Zach Coleman, the guy who you played the voice for in NBA. Like,
oh yeah,
they're really like horrible characters, like really antagonistic, really just you really want like love to hate those type of guys in the performances. Do you prefer to play that type of character? Because from knowing you're the complete opposite to that. But it is almost like I text you after. I remember texting you after we watched. I think it may have been Entourage, going, "I hated you," in a good way, because it was exactly what it needed. But do you prefer to play the complete opposite to yourself, or is it more a case of that's how you're seen at the moment?
I definitely think it can be some of the most fun to run in that opposite direction, and because you know, for the vast majority of your life, you're trying to, you know, behave and to be a good person in whatever way you can. So roles that are just like, all right, for this limited amount of time, you can completely forget all of the rules of human decency and all that stuff. And you know, just politeness and things like that. With Entourage specifically, the idea of that character was just to antagonize and belittle all of these beloved characters in personal ways, just like to find, you know, sometimes there wasn't a whole lot of improvisation, but just like, you know, normally when you're interacting with someone, you're looking to be, you know, to be a good listener and to, you know, to react in a nice way. And Entourage is just about like, I'm just gonna like try and on this person as much as I can in the interaction that we have. And that's a lot of fun when you're, you know, safe in the land of make-believe. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely rewarding roles that are closer to my personality or aren't as flamboyantly evil as some of these characters. But when you do get to just go as far as you can in that direction, it can be a lot of fun.
It can be a lot of fun. And I really want to say a big thank you to Hayley for all the support with getting this on the go, because as great as it was doing the first episode with Johanna, if we didn't have a second guest to move on to, it would have been pretty hard to get going, wouldn't it? So a big thank you as well to Hayley for helping us out with that. But I did like the story as well that he mentioned there about going for a walk, going shopping with his mum in IKEA, and there were two ladies taking photos of kids for castings. Could you imagine doing that right now?
Oh, how strange. But what I think is great, though, is how, again, Hayley playing the horrible git, and you hate him on screen, but he could not be further from that person in real life, which is just shows testament how great an actor he is.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. So anyway, guys, that was the clips from our archives from all the different guests we've had over the show. If you liked any of the conversations, what you've listened to so far, go back. I mean, listen to the end of this one, obviously, but go back and go through the archives, what we've already got on from the different podcasts, and listen to the full shows, because it's been really fun. And it's been nice, actually, listening to some people who've told us, well, I heard that one, or, oh, I've missed that one, I'll catch it later. So if you have missed one, you got plenty of time, because we will be back. Ooh, that brings me on to the next thing. I have put together a very small compilation of Did You Knows that you have informed us with over this time. Would you like to hear them?
I would. I'm sure I already know them, but let's hear them.
Okay, well, listen to the official jingle.
And now it's time for Did You Know with James? Did you know with James?
Did you know, regarding swimming, that swimming was depicted in paintings in Egypt as far back as 2500 BC? A single strand of spaghetti is called a spaghetto. Romans used honey instead of gold to pay their taxes. On Jupiter, a day is just shy of 10 Earth hours. Year on Jupiter, as in to go around the sun, is 11.8 Earth years. Bees, they can fly around 15 to 20 miles an hour. Bees collect over 20 kilograms or 40 pounds in old money of nectar every year. The longest river in the UK is the River Severn. That a full NASA spacesuit costs $12 million US.
And that's just a small collection of some of the nonsensical facts that we have to put up with on this show. James, have you got one for us today?
I've got three, okay? So, Three, because I can. So the first one, going on listening, so hopefully you, Oliver especially, learn something from those Did You Knows. But did you know that from 1 hour from now, you'll probably only be able to recall 20% of what you've heard?
1 hour from now, I'll be able to remember. So what does that mean? I'll be able to remember. So from an hour from now,
if there were 10 Did You Knows, you could probably only recall 2 of them in an hour's time.
Okay.
But you're more than likely to remember even less than that if you were bored or did not like the person telling the story.
True.
And
school.
My final Did You Know. This is my final Did You Know of the whole series.
Okay. Go on then.
So everybody knows I'm a dog person, right?
Yes.
But did you know, a couple of years ago, Sir Paul McCartney admitted that there's a frequency at the end of the song, A Day in the Life. You know the Beatles song, There Are Places.
Sgt. Pepper's.
At the end of that song, there's a high-pitched frequency which only dogs can hear.
Rubbish.
So if you want a cool fact, play
Does it work?
A Day in the Life and see your dog's ears at the end.
Have you done that?
I have.
And does it work?
It does.
Rubbish. Get off.
Yeah, try it.
Well, I don't have a dog to hand.
Well, just stand outside with a ghetto blaster and there you go.
True.
Anyway,
Okay, fine.
That was my Did You Know of the season. Thank you very much to everybody for enjoying those. I've really enjoyed finding stuff out and learning a bit more. So I'm determined to seek some more, even more random stuff.
Definitely. There's definitely been some really fun stuff what has been coming through. Okay, so I've got one for you. A Did You Know? Did you know? Double Trouble. Season 3. See? It's not actually a prop. Some people think this is a prop mic.
Right.
Anyway, did you know? Not that bit, that isn't it. The Did You Know bit is we will be back in the fall, in the autumn, this year with season 3 of the Double Trouble podcast. If there's anything that you guys liked, what you think we should do, please let us know, because we're all up for making this very, very inclusive. Artwork as well. We're looking for new artwork. If people would like to contribute their ideas, we've got some amazing ones sent through already, and it would either be changing every week or throughout the run of the show, whatever. We're not too sure yet, but if you're not in it, we don't know. So if you do like the idea of it and have a bored couple of minutes or hours or whatever like that, I want to make one up, should I say, feel free to do so.
Yeah, that's something that we're very keen to continue, is everybody being involved in this podcast. So it's not just Oliver and I coming up with random stuff. We want you guys to genuinely partake in what we're doing. So like Oliver said, if you've got any cool artwork that we could use each week or for the whole season, please send them on our Instagrams or our Twitters, and you will be more than welcomed.
Yes, more than welcome will be the input of the viewer, because at the end of the day, it's not an us and you type thing. It's a collective collaboration for everyone on board, because what we want to do, as I say, is just make this nice, really, is make this, how do we make this better? How do we get everything working?
Yeah, and also going on to a bit of input, thank you very much to everybody that joined Steve Coleman and myself yesterday this being recorded on Wednesday. Everybody joined us on Tuesday at 5 o'clock English time for our live workout with a book. We had a great response to it. Thank you so much for everybody who joined us from all over the world. We had people as far away as the Philippines and Japan joining us. So Oliver didn't, for injury or something. Was it?
Shoulder.
Yeah,
shoulder.
right.
Yeah.
But people have been asking where they can see this workout, and it's actually on my Instagram. So James Phelps Pictures, because someone else had already got James Phelps. Anyway, it's on my James Phelps Pictures Instagram, and it is the third icon. So you've got photos put up, a middle thing, which is what it is, and things that people have tagged me. The one in the middle is where you'll find it. So all you need is a book, about half an hour or so, and you'll have plenty of fun.
Excellent. Well, speaking about plenty of fun, hopefully you guys listening have had plenty of fun listening to today's roundup for the whole season of the second season of the Double Trouble podcast. Once again, thank you so much for everyone who's been saying, Alexa, play Double Trouble podcast, or asking Siri or OK Google, or even the people who shouted out quite loudly, Alexa, order a taxi.
Do we know if you did get a taxi in your Amazon account?
I don't know, actually. I don't know.
Please let
but
us know. That's something we can work on. Hey, what are you? Have you got anything planned for your little hiatus now?
What have I got coming up there? Trying to get better on the golf game, and depending how the result, this being filmed midweek, depending on the football result this weekend, celebrating Aston Villa being in the Premier League. Hopefully, I'll be looking forward to that. Oh, also as well, before we get going, while it's in my head, thank you so much, everybody, for all the complete support with us being in the being with the podcast. You guys have made this what it is, and we really, really appreciate all the nice words, all the good input, and all the shares, likes, subscriptions, everything like that. It's all really, really helpful.
Very much, very much.
Oh, I thought we could do something, James.
I was waiting for you to ask what I got planned for the next couple of months.
Oh, yeah. What are you doing?
Well, thank you for asking. No, I reckon you're going to be jealous of this one. I haven't showed you this yet. So, you know, at the start of lockdown, I built my 1,000-piece, 1,969-piece Lego Saturn rocket.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So I went shopping the other day.
Right.
Look at that.
What on earth is that? Is that a roller coaster?
It's a roller coaster, a Lego roller coaster, almost 5,000 pieces.
Wow.
So I'm waiting for the weather to turn.
So hang on. So you're doing that?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm waiting for it to rain so I can justify.
Yeah. Well, I hope we have a really hot spell now.
Well, I'm really looking forward to building. So hopefully it won't be raining. Hopefully I'm waiting for just a week.
No. I hope it does. I hope it's really sunny. Really, really, really sunny. And you have to go outside the whole time.
Okay. Well, anyway.
To the point where your house needs to be fumigated, you've got to stay outside for a while.
Well,
while they're doing all that.
That's my plan. And also carry on the bike ride and carry on the sightseeing, the stargazing.
Yes.
Yes. And also, we have actually got a cool little project coming up in a couple of...
Oh, yes, we do. So as I say, I just wanted to say a big, big thank you to everyone. We'll see you later in the year. And we're going to sign off with letting you know what this brand new project is, what we've been doing. And we did a bit last Monday, actually. Absolutely fantastic.
We can't.
No, I was going to end it like The Sopranos.
No.
Where it just goes black.
No one likes that.
Okay, I've been overruled, everybody. As I say, I think we should finish off by telling everybody what our final project, our secret project is that we've been working on. It's going to be amazing. It is.
Hello. Oh, that's not, Oliver. That's rubbish. You left it like The Soprano. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you will find out very soon, I'm sure. Thank you again so much for joining us these last couple of months. We've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for all your support. Please carry on to stay safe during this whole crazy time. Please wear a mask when indoors like we're being asked to, and hopefully life will return back to normal. Thank you very much for joining us. Until next time, I'm James Phelps. That frozen screen is Oliver Phelps.
I'm Oliver Phelps, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, Joe. So we're going to ask everybody the same questions whenever they do this podcast. So first one to you would be, what is your favourite song?
Sweetest Thing by Van Morrison.
Everything in Its Right Place by Radiohead.
I would say Unknown Legend by Neil Young.
Something, George Harrison. Something in the way she moves. Go on, please.
All right, one of them comes to mind. You guys will know this, and I was obsessed with this. Destiny's Child Survivor album, Happy Face.
Happy Face. I was just about to say it.
All right, it'll be David Sylvian, Orpheus.
Enjoy Anthem. Now, if you don't know Enjoy Anthem, you will know it if you hear it. I'm pretty sure you probably heard it. But it's by a guy called Neil Champion and Mark Franklin, and I used to go to school with them. So.
But Love Generation. Do you know Bob Sinclair?
So I think it's called The Intro by the XX.
Okay, yeah.
Favorite. It's kind of like a dance, sort of really slow, uplifting one. I really like that one. I probably listened to that on repeat many times.
Your favourite, this could be one or the other, favourite film or favourite TV show?
I guess favorite TV show, not just to pander to people in the UK, is Peep Show.
A real Disney girl. So at the moment, I'd probably say one of my favourite films, almost of all time, is Moana.
Harry Potter 1 through 7. 1 through 8. How many films were there? 8.
8.
Yeah, 1 through 8.
We'll give you that.
Children of Men by Alfonso Cuarón.
Lawrence of Arabia, because it was the film that made me want to be an actor. Peter O'Toole.
Kill Bill Volume 1.
So, Saving Private Ryan.
Keanu Reeves in Matrix.
I thought you were going to say Bill and Ted.
Godfather's in my head because I just saw it last night. Planes, Trains and Automobiles. Or Home Alone. Jurassic Park.
Well, okay. I guess if you watch them all in one go, they count as one film, don't they? So that's right.
Sorry, my blind's going down. Let me just go turn the light off. I'm going to be in darkness in a second.
Wait, come back to us, Ollie. Come back to us.